Scandal. After a week of fervent denials, Mayor Hallinan admitted that last Thursday she used 5 counterfeit coupons on a weekly shopping trip to the Kroger for a savings totaling $14.81.
Once you've made a fake coupon and you've had a taste of that power, it's hard to stop.
How much time does one woman need?
Mayor Hallinan also apologized for her first response to the controversy when she blamed Jared the Paperboy for stealing her coupons and replacing them with the fakes.
I don't know what to say. She could have ruined my career. I hope she goes to jail forever.
And in what many are saying is the ultimate indignity, Mayor Hallinan's photo has been put up on the Kroger's so-called banishment wall in between such undesirables as the Fredericks boy and infamous gum thief, Mr. Ivins.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Welcome to Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. And 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160. You can call in with whatever's on your mind. You can tell us what you think about what we're talking about, or you can totally change the subject. It's up to you to exercise your free speech rights to talk about whatever you want to talk about here on the radio without saying those 7 words that Dr. Carlin said you can't say. And with you in the show tonight, it's me, Bonnie,
Lori,
and Peakless Mountaineer.
And the first topic we had wanted to discuss tonight is the mainstream media cover-up of the Trump assassination. That was so clear, so obvious what they're doing, and it's just weird. It's like, why did they think they could get away with that?
Well, I mean, what else were they going to do on the one hand? But, like, seriously, they tried this?
So bad. If you don't know what we're talking about, there were tons of headlines that came out right as the news was breaking that Trump got shot. And the 3 of us on last Saturday's episode were talking about Trump getting shot, but it was breaking, like 30 minutes before the show started breaking, or an hour maybe. And so there wasn't that many of these articles out yet, but like that night, a friend of mine was like, have you seen what some of the things that the mainstream media is using as a headline about this? So you guys had some examples. What were your favorites?
Oh, so my all-time favorite one, this one, a little taste of home from back in Colorado, from the Sunday Denver Post, gunman dies in attack.
Wow.
Yep. I think my favorite was the AI-generated Home Alone 2 star shot at Trump rally.
I would have to say that my favorite is Secret Service interrupts Trump speech.
Mm-hmm. The loud noise event, too.
That one, too. Loud noise
great.
is heard.
A close second for me is the and this one was CNN of all people, Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally.
And it's like he didn't even fall, so that's just a lie. He he got down.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
they got him down.
Right. They have a narrative to post. Like, their problem right now is that their backed candidate is very clearly physically inept. Like, very obviously, not only physically inept, but also mentally not there.
Yep.
So if they can possibly
and
paint
he got
the
COVID
opposition,
and he was like 81 or whatever. So.
Oh my God! And like I don't know if you've heard the comparison between the two.
No.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, if he recovers from COVID, which kills old people, then that's the same level of showing his physical robustness.
Wow.
As
It's like the fist pump after being shot at.
Yeah, Trump, when he got COVID, I think it was during his presidency. Was it pregnancy? He said, my body completely destroyed the coronavirus. The doctor said they've never seen anything like it. So stupid. Oh my God. Another one. This one is from, it doesn't show me what the news article is because this is just a screenshot. Oh no, it's the Washington Post. Trump escorted away after loud noises at Pennsylvania rally.
Mm-hmm. Loud noises.
Loud noises. Not gunfire. You know, it's too early to tell. What with him actually being shot in the air. And okay, so it's weird that they managed to catch like a bullet on film. I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
You were talking about it.
It's
No.
so deeply bizarre, but apparently that's a thing that can happen, that you can like catch the ripples in the air if you catch the shutter at just the right moment.
The things that are like bothering me is like people saying, "Oh, it was a setup, like he set it up himself to trust some guy to shoot at his head."
I mean,
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm not going to put that out of the realm of possibility.
so.
I mean, you know, be careful talking about that, especially if you mention crisis actors, because the last guy who questioned a major narrative like that got fined $1 billion.
I don't have $1 billion. I got like a chapstick in my pocket. They can have that. But that's about it.
I'm a little scared, honestly. Like, I know of this guy who worked for Young Americans for Liberty, like me. His name is Gabe Whitley. He just said a joke about it on Facebook, and he had his house raided 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
For
Is it younger
saying
than
a joke?
me? Yeah.
Yeah,
What was the joke? I don't want to ask what the joke
I
is
don't
on air.
know. I didn't actually get that info. Friend texted him and was like, "How are you doing?" And he said, "Not good, obviously. My house was raided." And they took his phone. It's crazy.
brother.
Was it for making the joke, or was it for something else unrelated and the timing just worked out that way?
I heard that it's because of the joke, but I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like a Republican that's ran for like small offices too. So this is what somebody texted me as the Trump quote from when he had COVID. He said, "I could walk down and kiss everybody, man or woman. Look at that guy, how handsome he is. I'll kiss him. Not with a lot of enjoyment, but that's okay." What? I don't know if that's really
You know,
what he said.
sometimes he just gets going and there's no stopping him.
He's so good for comedy.
Yeah,
He
he's way
is.
funnier
Okay,
than
so
Biden.
so on the off chance that this like is a setup, then like, man, he is the most impressive actor I have ever seen. Because like you can see
Home
like
Alone 2 actor shot at Trump rally.
fair enough.
And he was
But
in
no,
Little
seriously, like
Rascals.
he like, you know, taps his ear, he looks at the blood, and like, no, that is legitimate fear on the man's face. That is the correct face that you make when you go, "Oh God, I've been shot in the head."
Yeah.
So either he is a magnificent actor, or no, this is pretty legit. Now there are some serious questions about this, like this Crooks guy, which, like, you know, unfortunate name, also makes me suspicious. Okay, he literally could not get into the rifle club at his school because of how bad of a shot he was. Explicitly, they thought it was too dangerous to have him there because of how bad of a shot
High
he
school
was.
or college.
High school. And,
I'm curious.
and yet, like, I
Well,
mean,
you know, he had 3 years.
like, what, a centimeter away from a dude's brain?
Maybe he wasn't aiming. Maybe he was aiming for a body shot, and like that's how bad he
I mean,
is.
it's possible, but like, honestly, what that makes me think, well, between that and the fact that someone mysteriously shorted the Trump's social media company, like massive short right before this, what I think happened is that he was, you know, the fall guy, and there was someone who was actually a good shot behind him.
So, what was I going to say about it? Oh, his
Did
dad
that
is
just blow your mind?
his dad is apparently a psychologist. So
Both
I'm
his parents, I
Super suspicious.
curious
Right, me
if
too.
he was on pharmaceuticals like for mental health.
think. Oh, has that not come out yet? I bet he was.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he
I mean,
was.
like, most school shooters are.
Yeah, I mean, he's
most
got
of
the
them
whole
are.
like Manchurian candidate setup here, and like
Yep.
no social media footprint.
Like his parents
Yeah.
are
Who-
probably
which
does
is
that?
weird.
Who does that in this century?
his parents are probably his handlers because they're both therapists and they're both
His
like
mom's
social
a
workers.
a
yeah.
therapist too.
Yeah.
And what kind of like Republican family is, you know, mom and dad are social workers?
Yeah,
Like none.
yeah. I
almost.
heard that his dad's a registered libertarian.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
just like more. They're just going after
Which-
us so hard. They want to make libertarians look bad.
Giving
so bad.
people pharmaceuticals doesn't seem like the job description for anyone that I know that has the same beliefs.
Yeah.
Those
Well-
ones, you know, they're bad. I feel like lots of libertarians like
Well, and
quote unquote pharmaceuticals, but like SSRIs.
Yeah, like pharmaceuticals,
Right.
different ones, the
Yeah.
fun ones, not the ones that make you like, I'm empty and dead inside.
I feel so sad about
Well,
people
and-
that have to be on that.
and if you remember last time, I called
convinced to be on that.
that they would announce that he acted alone. Oh, gee, how did I know that? Knowing absolutely nothing about the shooter at all at the time.
Another thing we really need to get into is what the Secret Service said about why they didn't have anybody on that roof. I'll pull
Yeah,
up the
because it was
actual-
too sloped.
Oh,
Mind you, like the guy who shot him was on a more sloped roof.
Yep.
At the time, yeah, minutes before this, people were telling the police, telling everyone, hey, there's a guy with a rifle on top of the roof right there.
Also, maybe there's some credence to it being set up and like it known about, because either he really enjoys the moment of a picture so much, like an outstanding picture where he stands up and he does the fist pump and like there's a flag flying behind him and it's so very like,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, fortuitous timing.
But he didn't know if there was somebody else shooting at him. Like, so maybe.
So those are our options, right? Like either he is like legit warrior spirit, where
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'm going to take the photo op. Yeah,
Right.
fight.
Exactly.
Why
Or
did he say
he
fight,
like,
though? That was weird to me.
Hmm?
Why did he say fight of all things, though? Like, that is weird to me.
no, that's pretty much what I would do with a head wound. I mean, honestly.
He just
I wouldn't.
channeled his WWE time and was like,
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you took a shot at me and you failed. Yeah,
But if you don't
that is
know
100% that spirit. Yeah, so one of two things. Like either he's in on this, which I'm still thinking is unlikely,
Unlikely.
and
But never say never.
Yeah.
yeah, or like, wow, dude is going to Valhalla.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. I don't know.
Those are pretty much the options here. And I'm standing behind my statement, completely hot take and uninformed as it may have been, that I assume this was the CIA.
So he does think that he's like the best of the best
That's
ever.
true.
So
That's
maybe
true.
he was like, I'm indestructible.
Well, and
Also, there's that.
he turned his head at exactly the right moment, at exactly the right angle.
But you know what made me really sad
What?
about his...
What?
He
What?
He did his first speech since the attempted assassination at the RNC, the Republican National Convention.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched part of it because I was like, oh, that might have something interesting in it. And I kind of felt bad that he talked for a long, long time about how he survived and how God is the only reason that God allowed him to live. And then he's like, oh yeah, but this like man died.
Dude, I think
So
that's
I guess
fair.
God didn't allow that guy. God didn't want him to live.
I mean,
Well, okay, so
I don't
at
know
this
anything
point, I'm
about that
convinced
guy.
that Trump is a projection of all of these people's psyches. Like, he's no longer a human. He's now this, like, archetype of America, which figures, you know, him being like an 80s Democrat. I mean, really, that's when America was at the top, right? So
people are saying that like God stopped the bullet and all this stuff about him. Like he's Jesus' second coming.
I mean,
couldn't save that guy in the
do
crowd
you have a
with the
better
family.
explanation for how he managed to turn his head a second before at exactly the correct angle to not have his head blown up?
Weird stuff happens.
I mean,
God want
sure,
that guy
but
to-
like, I think that
My
there is
parents are praying for
there
Trump.
is legitimately like what you might call supernatural activity going on here. I think that's what's actually happening is things that are beyond our ken that we do not comprehend will alter probabilities in our physical reality.
You know, times...
Didn't Roosevelt almost die a whole bunch of times?
Which
oh,
one?
Yeah, he
Teddy-
said that he had
Teddy
a-
Roosevelt?
Isn't he the one that had like a nickel or something in his pocket and the bullet hit there? Or maybe it was a Bible.
So,
Oh,
I
wait,
don't know. Something.
That might have been George Washington.
Maybe.
Anyways, one thing that I think is really weird about it is a lot of conspiracy theories that you go and listen to, like deep in the rabbit hole ones, like not beginner level. They often talk about like, oh, the government, the Illuminati, blah, blah, blah. They have this technology to time travel already. And what they do to practice is they will send you back in time to the moment where JFK was shot, Lincoln was shot, and you have to live it over and over again trying to change the outcome. But it's not actually able to change the outcome. It's practice.
That's a book.
I know that's all fake, but I'm just saying, like, of all things, that being the thing, and then what you're saying.
Hold on. So the idea there being that like certain events are fixed in time and can't be altered. That is literally how it works in Doctor Who.
There's a book by Stephen King. It's not about Lincoln. It's about Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
It's called like 1967, I think. And it's about a guy going back in time to try to stop the Kennedy assassination. Same
So-
thing. Like
another person who was assassinated by the CIA. And look, that's literally their job, okay? When a world leader kicks the bucket, when they are assassinated anywhere in the world, it was probably the CIA.
And just think of what a change in history it is that he turned his head in the right time.
Seriously.
It's
No,
a big difference.
Every now and again, like, I tear up at that because we were so close to a civil war. Like, we were less than an inch away from absolute chaos, literal blood in the streets.
I'm not positive about that because, I mean, they attempted to assassinate him, and no, there aren't blood in the streets.
I think it would have come from the other side, honestly.
Why?
I think that if Trump was shot, that the other side would have been emboldened to, I mean, the peaceful and nonviolent left is not very peaceful and nonviolent.
Well, and the thing is, like, he is just such an absolute figurehead.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't even a second Trump. Like, there's no sub-Trump.
Yeah.
It's just the Trump movement. He is the entire right political populist movement is one guy. So if unknown person manages to actually assassinate the one figurehead, I mean, people will absolutely lose their minds.
It's weird how culty they are about it.
Yeah, no, like, no joke. They literally believe that he is sent by God as a messiah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not using hyperbole.
You're not.
I'm saying exactly what a lot of them believe. So when someone assassinates Christ, what do you think is going to be their reaction? We were unbelievably close to a civil war. And I will say what I said then and what many have said since. We all dodged a bullet that day.
Yeah.
Because that is not the world that we can, like, swiftly recover from.
I don't think that you can correctly say he dodged it. He didn't mean
No, he literally dodged a bullet that day.
No,
He
dodging means like you see it coming and you go, Matrix style.
Yes,
He didn't.
he
just
literally
happened to turn his
dodged a
head.
bullet with his head.
Yeah,
He Matrix style bullet time got his head out of the path of a bullet.
You
All
didn't
he
see
did
the
was turn
video
his head.
slow down and like his trench coat flying around and stuff.
Like, no,
his
okay,
sunglasses fly off.
head was at this angle, bullet would have gone straight into the back of his brain.
Another thing.
Then he moved his head here along
I know,
parallel
all I'm
of
saying
the
is
bullet.
he didn't
If
do it on
he hadn't
purpose.
stopped, if
No,
he had
I
moved his
know
head a
that.
little bit further, it would have gone into the front of his head.
It's crazy.
Like,
it's crazy.
no, he literally dodged a bullet.
But he didn't because
and
dodged
we
implies
figuratively
intention.
dodged a bullet.
Well, whatever. Like, it's semantics, I guess. But one thing that this situation has also brought up for me is just like I have been realizing things this year, and part of that is I really think there's like more difference between men and women than I used to think. And I don't think women should be in the Secret Service now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
So bad. It's so
that
bad.
is one of the things that, like,
Embarrassing.
I put over into the, like, it's a fake and Trump was in on it category. How is he not firing anyone?
Oh,
Like,
Yeah,
literally,
yeah.
his thing is you're fired.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that he knocks Joe Biden on correctly is that Joe Biden never fires anyone. And, like,
does he have power to fire?
Yeah, I was
Secret
gonna say,
Service?
how
yes, he
How?
absolutely has the power to fire anyone in the Secret Service.
How?
They're part of the executive branch.
But he's not the president.
He can take anyone off of his team, though.
I've
Really?
always thought
Yeah.
it seems scary to be Trump and be protected by the Secret Service. It's
Yeah.
like those are
The other
government
guys.
lovers.
Yeah, can
They
we
don't
all
wanna
just
drain
agree
the
that,
swamp.
like, he can pick his own security staff from now on? Because, yeah, I mean,
Is he not allowed?
at the very, very least, let's give them the greatest possible benefit of the doubt. They messed up in obvious ways.
Yeah, badly.
Now, let's be even mildly reasonable about this. They didn't mess up.
Yep. I
No,
know.
Yeah.
I
they
don't
knew
think
this
so
was
either.
going to happen. They deliberately allowed him to be nearly assassinated. That's why they didn't cover the roof. That's why they didn't respond during the minutes when people were telling everyone, hey, there's a gunman here. And it's why the guy who finally took the shot takes his aim, pulls his eye away from the telescope, waits a second, and then puts his eye back and fires.
Okay, but the thing is if they wanted to assassinate him and were using an actual sniper, he would have taken a body shot because they know not to take a headshot because it's such a small target. Your chances of missing go up. If you ever played a shooter game, you learn that really
It could
fast.
be part
like
of,
you
like,
never
their
go for a
ritual,
headshot.
though.
You get more points for a headshot because it's harder.
Yeah, but presidents are always shot in the head. It could be part of the ritual. Like,
Yeah.
he was
Oh, maybe.
supposed to go for the
Absolutely.
head.
And I
Lincoln,
mean, it's
JFK.
That's true.
And that's
I
the
don't know if
thing.
there's
Like,
another one.
the deep state wants a civil war more than anything. And if they could have had on live television a Trump head explosion,
It was live,
that
exactly.
would have been it.
My parents saw this happen live. Like, if he had died, my parents would have watched him die live. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, it would have been a live head exploding death on national television. That would have absolutely started a civil war, which is exactly what
It
the
would be
entrenched state
PTSD
powers
for
want.
Millions of people.
Yeah.
Have you
That's what
seen the
happened to
thing?
JFK, or with JFK?
I don't know. It feels like this is an intentional psyop thing, but maybe it's not. But everybody's calling the Secret Service now the SS.
I've
As
always
well they
laughed
should.
about
Yeah.
that in my head. That
Yeah,
they're
and
literally
not for
SS.
nothing. I mean, you don't know if he's
Shoots
wearing a
stuff.
vest. You also
Right.
don't know if that suit is actually made of Kevlar.
I mean, I'm pretty sure his head is not made of Kevlar.
Right, which is why they would name. Which is why they would aim
why
at the
they
head.
would aim for the head. Okay.
Right. I mean, dear God, if I was Trump, I would 100% be wearing Kevlar suits.
I'd be in one of those Pope bubbles.
I know. I was like, in South
At least
Park.
starting now. Come on.
Right.
In South
It's like,
Park,
dude, you got to make it to November first. Come on.
I don't remember the celebrity, but there's like a B-list celebrity that comes to South Park in the show called South Park, and she has like this cylinder made of glass, like bulletproof glass all around her, even though like she's just a B-list celebrity. But if I was Trump, I would
think it was
definitely be
Bette
in that.
Midler
No, it's somebody
No?
I hadn't heard of until that
or
episode.
Barbara Streisand. That's
No, it was somebody that is not that famous because that was the joke. It was like she's like, "Oh my god, I have to go to this hick town," and
Oh.
and I'm a celebrity, and everybody was like, "They're gonna have her? Oh my gosh, we're gonna have her in South Park."
it's like 27 seasons. I can't remember
It was season one.
anymore.
And I'd like to point out a few things that this like really sheds light on. Okay, so number one, there is not even an attempt at justice in this country. Like, if there was, every single Secret Service agent and everyone commanding them would be on trial to find out what they knew, when they knew it. Was this actually an attempted coup, or was this simply the most monumental F-up of the Secret Service's history?
Yeah, but instead they're all like, whoopsie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How is there not even a resignation?
Nothing.
Like, nothing.
Nothing.
Did you
Nothing.
guys see the woman that couldn't like holster her gun and she's looking around?
Did you see the woman hiding behind the president?
No.
Yes, there was a woman crouched down behind the president.
An
Yeah.
SS member?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there was
I meant to say
SS.
social.
Yeah, that is
what's
fun.
What's it called? I didn't even Secret Service. I almost said Social Security. So.
Yeah.
So yes, a Secret Service woman was crouching behind the president.
And one thing I want to get out there just real quick, I promise it wasn't Iran that did this.
Oh, I forgot
I don't know
about
if you saw that headline, but they
Yeah.
tried to pin it on Iran. It's like, oh, wouldn't that be convenient for you?
Yeah, now we can go to war with Iran. That's
Right?
That's great.
Oh, and it's not like they're a satellite of Russia. Oh, wait. Yeah. Convenient.
Well, we do have, when we come back, we're going to get into this article with the security expert ripping on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle's sloped roof excuse. So we're going to get into what the Secret Service said about why this mishap happened and the security expert's opinion on it when we come back. This is from Fox News, but this is Free Talk Live. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, Donald Trump officially became the Republican Party nominee following the party's 4-day convention in Milwaukee. It came less than a week since his attempted assassination, something he spoke about during his acceptance speech. FSN's US correspondent Simon Marks was watching from the convention site in Milwaukee and sent this report.
He started with a very emotive, somewhat subdued description of the attempted assassination that he survived last weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania. I shouldn't be here, he told the convention delegates, and said that he had been saved by the hand of God. After that emotional part of the speech, in which Donald Trump called for unity and healing throughout the country, he then returned to themes that you more often hear in his standard stump speech, and for a considerable part of his 2-hour address was talking about the need to crack down on what he repeatedly referred to as an invasion of illegal immigrants into the United States. He vowed to finish building the wall with Mexico that he started to build during his first term in office, and insisted that he will seal the border between the two countries, although there was no detail provided about exactly how he is going to do that.
Meanwhile, details continue to emerge throughout the week about the attempted assassination. The US Secret Service was reportedly told about a suspicious man using a rangefinder 20 minutes before the gunman opened fire at Donald Trump at the rally in Pennsylvania. FSN's Sally Patterson was monitoring developments.
In a briefing by law enforcement, members of Congress were given a timeline of the moments leading up to Saturday's assassination attempt, which left Donald Trump with an injury to his ear, but alive. Lawmakers were told local police had initially spotted the gunman about an hour before the shooting, but then they lost track of him. There are questions about why the suspect, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, wasn't stopped sooner.
US President Joe Biden's political future remained in serious doubt throughout the week, with more speculation swirling and more Democratic lawmakers saying it was time for him to drop his re-election bid. As of Friday, his campaign was insisting there were no plans for him to give up on his candidacy. FSN's Benji Hire reports.
Joe Biden's offering a temperate defiance whilst holed up at home with COVID-19. Yet since he's lost the support of major Hollywood donors, Democratic Party heavyweights, 24 lawmakers, and 2/3 of his own voting base, Biden's campaign maintains he's more determined than ever to beat his predecessor Donald Trump in November's election. Benji Hire, Washington.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160, and Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash, Digital Cash. Tired of the ever-inflating US dollar? You can live your life on Dash with bitrefill.com, where you can buy gift cards from big retailers including grocers, gas stations, phone refills, Amazon, and even prepaid MasterCards. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month for this sponsorship. It's easy to get and use Dash. You can learn more at dash.org. That's dash.org. And with you on the show tonight on Free Talk Live, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori,
and Peakless Mountaineer. And I'd like to point out that Dash was not affected by a CrowdStrike.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, you didn't hear about that? So CrowdStrike is it's one of those massive tech monopolies, and they put out a bad update, and it just crashed absolutely. Like, literally an unknown number of systems went down. Like, they said at one point, it's at least 1 billion, and then they're like, it's countless.
Yeah.
There was, like, no air travel because they all use CrowdStrike.
Mm-hmm.
Banks were affected. Yeah.
No, when?
Yesterday.
I didn't hear about that at all.
Cash App was down. Like my
Whoa.
bank, there's no bank that I use, my bank, in New Hampshire. So like I have to go and put money in Cash App and then I transfer it over to my bank account.
Nice.
And so so I tried to do that and couldn't do it because Cash App was down.
Is this like at the internet service provider level or what?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Everything was down. And like
hear
I saw a
about
hit
that.
piece today in the Washington Post about how yesterday's thing, whatever, down, shows us the dangers of a cashless society. And I was like, that's not true because crypto was still working just fine.
It just showed us the opposite. It showed us how our money can just disappear because of digital quote unquote dollars in your bank account.
Yeah,
Right.
it shows you the dangers of trusting in the banking system.
Right.
Yeah, that's a complete lie.
Yeah,
They're trying to cover themselves.
A banking-based cashless society, this is exactly that problem because, they are a monopolist in their nature. And that's what this was. The problem here was that there aren't any alternatives to what CrowdStrike does because it's such a freakishly regulated industry, not to mention the fact that they get an absurd amount of money from the government.
Yep.
So there's literally no one who can compete with CrowdStrike. So you have a digital monopoly.
Right.
So like unless you were using like Southwest was literally still on Windows 95 and 3.x. Yeah. So they got to keep going because they're still on Windows 3 and Windows 95. And this didn't affect anything that old.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like beyond like the banking system, any type of crypto that the government would use that would be centralized would also be in danger.
It wouldn't be crypto.
I mean, any kind of
Digital dollar.
digital dollar. Yeah.
Yeah, something like USDT or PayPal's so-called cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Anything that's centralized would be in danger.
Right.
Because they all use the same monster to run their programs.
Well, I do want to go to the phones. It is a call and talk radio show, and we have Matthew.
Oh, and
calling-
by the way, it wasn't Russian hackers. Don't let anyone tell you different.
I have no clue. I just learned of this. So we have Matthew on the line, and he wants to talk about the Secret Service's excuse. Was it the sloped roof thing that you wanted to talk about, Matthew?
It was about the other agents, but real quick, based on what you guys just talked about, JetBlue was also not affected. And just to show you how deep the rabbit hole goes, so CrowdStrike was the company that said that the hack on the DNC servers in 2016 had evidence of Russian interference. So that's where they first came to prominence. So now you've got that company is the one that's saying that that is causing all these issues. So it's just kind of weird. But so for the Secret Service, so the director of communications for the Secret Service came out and said that attacks on their agents for not knowing what they were doing and not being able to holster their guns were misogynist, and that the people that were perpetuating that myth were against the values of the Secret Service. He had nothing to say about the fact that they let the president get shot, but he wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we shouldn't be criticizing people just because they assigned a woman who's 5'3" to guard a guy who's 6'4".
I mean, what they're saying is you shouldn't criticize people for not doing their job properly. How dare you? That's hateful.
Misogynist.
Misogynist.
I mean, that's the thing. They're getting
wait,
criticized for being bad at their job.
Am I allowed to criticize the short woman who was literally hiding behind him?
No.
That being literally the opposite of her entire job.
No, we can do anything.
You sure can, and apparently without getting fired.
Badly or well, it doesn't really matter. We can do anything.
My dad told me that the Secret Service lady who crouched behind him and the one that couldn't holster her gun, that was that same lady.
Oh, that is in no way surprising.
Yeah, I know.
And
She was
talk about
terrified.
someone who ought to be on, let's call it administrative leave.
And the thing about it is, I'm not saying like, oh, you're a loser for being afraid during a shooting. No, it's just that you're not wired for this.
You're a loser for getting the job where your job is to not be afraid during a shooting.
Right. I would not get that job. I wouldn't
would
be able to
never
do
go
it.
for that job,
Right.
So
Don't
like
get
I just
that
wouldn't
job.
go do
I would
it.
never be a pilot.
I would
Right,
be
me
great
neither.
at that job, except I actually don't care whether any politician lives or dies. So,
Right, so you'd be
that's
like,
why I don't do that job.
Anything else?
It's
Matthew?
interesting you guys brought up the fact that it's not their job, because one of the things that people are talking about is that apparently some of the agents weren't actually Secret Service agents. They were part of Homeland Security Investigations, which is a different part of the Department of Homeland Security, and that they didn't have enough agents to guard President Trump because they were busy at the NATO summit or at Joe Biden's event that she was having, so they weren't actually.
How convenient!
So, are they like actually trained agents, or are they like the Homeland Security like that you see at the border crossings, where they're just some guy that they hired? You know,
so they do investigate. So HSI does a lot of domestic terrorism investigations. They were actually the ones that did all the January 6th investigations. So they're the ones and some of them were the ones that were instigating stuff on January 6th. Or allegedly
I say again,
instigating
how
stuff on January 6th.
convenient. Yeah, I would like to point out that you do get government efficiency even in their assassination attempts. Like, for example, everyone's like, oh, JFK, there was a magic bullet, and it was just one shooter. No, there was an entire gallery of shooters, and they all failed, which is why he had to stop in front of the storm drain for a teenage kid to blow the president's head off. Wow. That's what happened during that one. This one, maybe we'll find out one day, but I doubt it. And honestly, here is where I'm at with Trump. I don't think even he will release the files on his own assassination attempt. And I guarantee you he won't release the Epstein files.
Why do you think he won't release files on his own assassination?
Because he's corrupt. He is corrupt as the day is long, and he is being put in here as a controlled opposition.
I kind of put that under, if he doesn't, I would file that under, this is not only set up by the CIA, but also set up by Trump. I mean, like, it only benefits him to get, for all of this to happen, that picture of him with the American flag in the background and his arm raised and blood on his face, that it couldn't seem faker, and it only helps him, you know.
I have heard that he didn't actually get shot. This is what the newest rumor is, and that something behind him that was glass got shot, and a piece of glass cut his ear.
So that was originally released in papers, and they have determined that that wasn't the case.
So he did get shot.
Yes.
So, see, I'm against saying that he set it up himself, because there's not a single person on earth I would trust to aim a gun at my head and just barely miss.
But I don't believe that. This is the thing.
Actually,
no way.
they didn't
I don't
miss.
believe that he would do that.
Remember, they didn't miss.
Okay.
They shot him in the head.
Yeah.
Trump has been shot in the head. He just managed to be lucky enough to survive it.
Like, can you imagine if at that you set this thing up where, like, yeah, shoot me in the ear because I trust you that much,
But
and then you
don't imagine
sneeze,
that.
and then you
think
sneeze.
that if he decided to do this, where he wanted to set this whole thing up, that it would be something like some kind of movie magic technology. Like, he probably has there's probably a possible way to, like, press a button and something goes off and a little packet goes off that looks like blood in your hair. I would never think that he would be like, yeah, and then I'll turn my head at this second, and then, like, that doesn't make sense.
He used, like, the WWE. See, I'm telling you, he, like, called it in. He had a little razor blade in his hand, just kind of nicked his ear and was like, oh,
you know, if it was a setup, that's the way that you would do it.
Yeah.
And how did he in front of his face like that?
none of the possibilities are believable. Like, that's not a believable possibility, but the official story isn't a believable possibility. It is, for one thing, entirely too much like a movie.
I think that he got shot at and just, you know, some crazy coincidence. He moved his head just at the right minute and it just nicked his ear.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of faith.
No, I mean,
especially
that's not faith.
No, that is faith.
Oh.
You believe so sincerely in the absence of a real but unknown explanation.
No.
That you're going to call it a coincidence?
I mean, I
don't believe in coincidences, for one.
I'm open to, like, the possibility of anything, but also, like, that's just the most likely. That they just tried to kill him and he moved his head.
I have another question too. Did the bullet that went through his ear and probably continued on behind him, was that the bullet that killed the man that died?
Good question.
That would be really sad.
That would be weird.
Freaky.
That would be freaky. And,
autopsy, check for DNA.
Right?
Yeah. Trump.
Yeah, and I mean,
DNA.
there was what, like 8 shots?
I don't know.
So, yeah, I guess there was like 3 and then 5. One of which, at least, was probably the.
How's he have 8 without Secret Service taking him out? Sorry, it was just crazy.
I'm telling you, like, the guy who finally, you know, at least supposedly shot Crooks he looked through his scope, then he pulled his head away from his scope and looked, And he waited for a second. Then he put his eye back to the scope and fired.
Wow. Why would you do that? Anything else on this, Matthew?
So I think the reason why he did that was that some of the initial reports is that the Secret Service sniper thought that the guy on the roof was a local police sniper because they were in that same building. So I think that him looking away was him.
That's absurd.
I think him looking away was him confirming that it wasn't another law enforcement because if you listen to the audio, that last shot was the Secret Service guy. He only took one shot and took him out. And so
but why would
I
you
think
look with your eyes at that point when you have the scope?
I think he was confirming with his partner that was not one of their guys. So basically, like he looked over there, he saw him, but
I don't buy it.
Plausible.
I do not buy that explanation. Like, when you saw the body, did that look like a police officer? No. Police officers are in uniform.
Yeah, skinny little
that
boy.
was very clearly not a man in uniform. No, that was very obviously not a police officer. Like, that may be the story he's going with.
Yeah, that's
and it'll
probably what
probably
they
work for
say.
him, but I don't buy it.
Well, I think the other thing that I have for it not being a conspiracy is that they were very quick to point out that they were able to crack his phone because obviously he didn't have an iPhone because he's a tool. And they found plans for the DNC convention. So they're like, oh, well, he was also going to shoot Joe Biden. It was like, okay, you managed to crack a phone in 8 hours and you magically came up with information that says that he was also going to target Joe. I don't buy it.
Wow, I hadn't heard that.
I mean, if anything, that's evidence that he was just, trying to get famous and went, oh, well, this will be way easier.
But like, why would this be the way you try to get famous? Like, you will die.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way that he thought that he was going to go shoot Joe Biden after this.
Yeah, like he thought he was going to live.
Like you're going to get
Joe
away
Biden after this.
You're not going to get away.
You're not.
No, you're not going to get away. You might survive though.
Yeah, but you're not going to get away to go shoot Joe Biden.
No, I'm telling you, like if everything is kind of what it looks like, then what that would indicate to me is that he went, well, I could try for Biden. Oh man, no, that's going to be way harder.
What if we all died in like 2012 when they said we were going to? And this is all just
movie dream.
The Mayans were right. We're just in one of the bardos.
And this is just insanity. We're in hell.
I mean,
it's clown world.
Yep.
I can't tell you that the apparently real story is less reasonable and probable.
Yeah, who knows?
But it's close.
Anything else, Matthew?
Yeah, well, to the point about the no one getting fired, I don't know if any of you guys saw the video. The director of the Secret Service actually went to the Republican National Convention, and for reasons that I don't understand, but then was surprised when she got heckled, and they actually the Secret Service had to escort her to a safe room because all the senators that were there were asking her why she was so bad at her job and why she had to resign, and so they had to like shuffle her off into a corner. It's like, why would you go there? Like,
why would you go?
Walking in to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Thinking that
total absence of self-awareness.
And then they were all fine after Hulk Hogan came on and ripped his shirt open, and they were like, everything's great now.
Yeah. Why? What? Like,
it's more evidence that it's all WWE stuff. You know?
It's idiocracy.
Is everyone else also calling for these people to lose their jobs because they bloody well ought to be?
Yeah.
I'm definitely calling for that. Come on, at least pretend that this is real.
Right. So at least don't. At least if there's going to be an election, we don't need the people who are supposed to be protecting the candidates, like obviously organizing an assassination against one.
You know what it is, guys? Nobody wants to work anymore.
Yeah.
You're not wrong there.
Nobody wants to work anymore.
Government workers are so incredibly bad at their jobs every single time that that's not even like that ridiculous of a statement. It could truly just be incompetence.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm sorry, but some jobs have a physical set of requirements. You
like
need
Hooters.
You need
like
either
Hooters.
like
Hooters.
I am fine if they are an XX chromosome that happens to be very tall and moderately thick, but your job is to be a barrier between you, you are to stop bullets from hitting the candidates and the presidents.
Yeah,
that's the job.
Right. If I needed a bodyguard, I would not hire Bonnie.
Hey,
right.
I would hire you.
Misogynistic.
I would not hire you.
I'm just kidding. I don't blame you.
Pure misogyny.
Bonnie would just not protect me in any way. Like
for those that
You
aren't
must be
watching,
one of
she's
those
just
self-hating
misogynistic.
birthing persons.
I'm
That's
bigger
right.
than Lee. I'm sorry. I'm bigger than the other people in this room, and she's just being misogynistic.
That's right. It's just simply
Yeah, way
because
to
you're
use
a woman.
our radio medium against the listeners there, buddy.
Yeah. No, I'm
well,
not.
the interesting part that about the director of the Secret Service is she's actually not a traditional government employee. She was hired on as she ran security for PepsiCo was her last job. So she's been in corporate security, and they brought her in. But the thing that gets me is that, like, if you're the head of the Secret Service and the president gets shot and you're the head of the Secret Service, you have to resign. Like,
I know.
you screwed up.
Yeah.
Like, you're done.
What
yeah,
about
those are the rules.
what about being security for Pepsi? Is that what you said? For Pepsi, right?
For PepsiCo, well, she ran executive security, so they run like so. It's a very similar job.
She was
I mean,
on the
so you've
job
got
when Michael
For the
Jackson
president,
got
though?
caught on fire. I bet she was.
I feel like those two things have extremely different risk levels.
I think you underestimate the power of Coca-Cola.
Well, I mean, it's the same. Like you're doing site surveys for events. You're looking around. Obviously, for a president, you might have a bigger perimeter and you might have more lethal force options available. But like,
Yeah,
the whole
what kind of
idea
perimeter
the
was
threat-
this? Like, oh,
Yeah, it
apparently,
was
like,
bad.
what,
It was really
400
bad.
feet is too far for us to have a perimeter?
Did you hear about the RNC perimeter and how they could have guns inside, but they couldn't have like tennis balls or water guns?
No.
Yeah.
They couldn't have vapes. Did you see the pictures of all the vapes that were outside the security barriers?
Yeah, they
Like,
couldn't
a
have
whole
vape.
conference tables.
Like all kinds of silly things they couldn't have.
Okay, so that sounds to me like they were worried about bombs, but somehow were not worried about guns.
Well, they couldn't because by law in Wisconsin, is that where it was, Wisconsin?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
It's in Milwaukee.
Yeah, they couldn't bar people from having their guns within, I think, was the soft footprint outside of the actual center.
Oh, okay. So
But they
you
could
weren't
ban-
allowed
but
to
they could-
actually take them inside then.
But they could ban you from having tennis balls and water guns and such.
Why a tennis ball specifically? Like, is that a good?
No, I'm
headline?
telling you, I
Medium?
think that
You
what they were
throw
looking
it.
for is they wanted to make sure that there wasn't a bombing. Because you can very easily have, oh, well, it's just a little tennis ball, but what is inside that tennis ball is really what counts.
Okay.
And, oh, no, this is just my vape. I promise it's not one of 4 components.
They don't
Okay,
let vapes in
but-
federal courthouses.
I mean, a bullet is also pretty dangerous. And if you're going to allow guns, then have at it, everybody.
Yeah, but at least
They
they
let
didn't
it all the
allow
way
a
in?
clear line of sight.
Into the soft
Hint,
footprint,
hint.
which was outside of the center.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, they have different perimeters with different security levels.
Mhm.
And, like, in the soft perimeter, I believe it was the soft perimeter, not the hard perimeter, they could have guns still. So, but if you can have guns within that area, why can you not have a water gun? Like, maybe I might
Well,
put
no, I'm telling you,
hydrochloric acid
because-
inside of it. But I mean, a
Or
bullet's going to
more
hurt
importantly,
you a
you could
lot
put
more.
one of a set of combinable components
With our powers
that
combined.
create a bomb.
Mhm.
Like
And then-
it's literally the reason, well, the excuse, honestly, that you can't have, like, you know, shampoo that's over half an ounce or whatever,
Mhm.
is because you can have things that of themselves, like, don't set off bomb detectors, won't alert the dogs or whatever, but when you combine them, they become an explosive.
It still makes no sense, though,
Binary
because you can have
explosives were
guns.
made famous in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
What was? Sorry.
I was just thinking of the like chewing gum from what was it, Mission Impossible. But yeah, so
I
like
think
yeah,
MacGyver when I think
there's-
of that kind of stuff.
But yeah, there's all sorts of things where you can have like you know, somewhat innocuous components, but when they are combined, they, you know, create something very volatile.
But I mean, if you
Ammonia,
can bring a
bleach.
gun, doesn't
For
it kind
example.
of negate the whole thing when you
Yeah.
have a gun in there?
I mean, maybe they had
Not
every
if there's a
window
wall
covered.
between you and your targets.
I guess.
Maybe they had like every window with a view covered. I don't know.
And I'll tell you
There's
this
still more
much,
than
it
just
worked
the president has a
perfectly
target.
well at PorkFest for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yep.
That man has never been safer as when he was surrounded by our gun rally.
Yeah, he
Yes.
was definitely soft footprint.
Yeah, but
covered
nobody
in
was
guns.
also at PorkFest
And we were
being
very
like,
much in the soft footprint.
but nobody at PorkFest was like, you can't have tennis balls, you can't have water guns.
That's true.
So, because it's silly.
So maybe they dropped
'Cause
the
it's
ball.
silly.
Well, you know,
The
this,
tennis
this
ball.
The
director,
tennis
the
ball.
Secret Service director, being with a huge company, like a private sector before, it really makes me think more that this is all set up at least by the Secret Service. It's not by like the Secret Service and the CIA and etc. Because that tells me that she is a little more competent than if she was like a government employee her whole life. You know, I mean, like Pepsi, they have celebrities in their advertisements and stuff. She probably has had serious jobs before.
Yeah. Yeah, and since you mentioned the CIA, I just want to like reaffirm my position that the burden of proof is on the CIA to prove that they were not involved in this.
They will not.
I'm sure they won't.
They won't.
Well, no, this is why I was absolutely certain beyond a shadow of a doubt that it would come out that he acted alone. Because either he did or he didn't, right? So on the off chance, and I'm going to call it near zero chance, that he did act alone, then they want to get that out there right away. That like, okay, this wasn't Iran, this wasn't the CIA, this wasn't, big oil. This was just this crazy guy. On the other hand, the higher probability that he didn't act alone, then of course it's a cover-up. So you're going to say that he acted alone.
There is definitely serious questions there about how he was walking around with a rangefinder inside, where security was.
What's that?
It's like a thing that you hold up and you look through it to see how far away your target is.
Like the laser with the red?
No, it's like a plastic thing.
Okay.
Right? They're plastic or metal. They're metal. I don't know. Anyway, it's to like measure distance. And he was in there with that, and then he got up on the roof, and apparently a cop went up there and saw him, and he pointed the gun at the cop. Cop Uvalde'd back down the ladder and left.
Uvalde'd?
Yeah. Like he was just like, bye, and left and didn't do anything about it. And people saw him up there and were telling people, and nothing was done. So
the
there's
story I was
definitely
hearing about,
questions.
Yeah, there's definitely questions. And the story I was hearing about the cop that got up on the roof was that like it wasn't a ladder. It's like he had managed to like get like the top half of his body over the ledge of the roof, and Crooks pointed the gun at him. So then he dropped back down.
And then what?
That sounds pretty reasonable to me. And then tried to figure out how to get someone back up there or what to do. Well, I guess maybe they Uvalde'd at that point.
Yes, see? Like, just didn't do anything. They were just like, it'll be fine.
But
Someone else will handle it.
Who would protect people if we didn't have, a centralized monopoly of cowards doing so?
Definitely making everything so much safer.
I'm definitely going to use Uvalde as my new adverb when I'm describing cops being cowards.
Let's be fair to these officers. At least they didn't try and stop Eric Trump from taking out the shooter, like the Uvalde police tried to stop and successfully stopped the parents of the children from protecting their young.
I think the chief got sentenced for that. He got time for it.
Oh, I absolutely hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the call, Matthew. Very fun conversation. There's just so many different things that could be going on here. It's fun to speculate about it. And like Pico said, I really don't think we will ever know. I don't think we'll ever know anything close to the truth. We might get some story that becomes the official story one day. Well, more coming up. It's Free Talk Live. We have some callers on the line, but you're still welcome to call in. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out in recent years. Fork Fest happens the weekend before the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 13th through the 16th. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 13th through the 16th. Forkfest.party.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone? You forgot to download our archive? and you have no data connection, you can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, Donald Trump officially became the Republican Party nominee following the party's 4-day convention in Milwaukee. It came less than a week since his attempted assassination, something he spoke about during his acceptance speech. FSN's US correspondent Simon Marks was watching from the convention site in Milwaukee and sent this report.
He started with a very emotive, somewhat subdued description of the attempted assassination that he survived last weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania. I shouldn't be here, he told the convention delegates, and said that he had been saved by the hand of God. After that emotional part of the speech, in which Donald Trump called for unity and healing throughout the country, he then returned to themes that you more often hear in his standard stump speech, and for a considerable part of his 2-hour address was talking about the need to crack down on what he repeatedly referred to as an invasion of illegal immigrants into the United States. He vowed to finish building the wall with Mexico that he started to build during his first term in office, and insisted that he will seal the border between the two countries, although there was no detail provided about exactly how he is going to do that.
Meanwhile, details continue to emerge throughout the week about the attempted assassination. The US Secret Service was reportedly told about a suspicious man using a rangefinder 20 minutes before the gunman opened fire at Donald Trump at the rally in Pennsylvania. FSN's Sally Patterson was monitoring developments.
In a briefing by law enforcement, members of Congress were given a timeline of the moments leading up to Saturday's assassination attempt, which left Donald Trump with an injury to his ear, but alive. Lawmakers were told local police had initially spotted the gunman about an hour before the shooting, but then they lost track of him. There are questions about why the suspect, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, wasn't stopped sooner.
US President Joe Biden's political future remained in serious doubt throughout the week, with more speculation swirling and more Democratic lawmakers saying it was time for him to drop his re-election bid. As of Friday, his campaign was insisting there were no plans for him to give up on his candidacy. FSN's Benji Hire reports.
Joe Biden's offering a temperate defiance whilst holed up at home with COVID-19. Yet since he's lost the support of major Hollywood donors, Democratic Party heavyweights, 24 lawmakers, and 2/3 of his own voting base, Biden's campaign maintains he's more determined than ever to beat his predecessor Donald Trump in November's election. Benji Hire, Washington.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN. This week saw the largest ever IT outage. It affected Microsoft products and systems, but it was linked to a problem with security provider CrowdStrike, which provides large organisations with IT protection. FSN's Stuart Smith sent this report from London.
It's estimated billions of computer systems that use CrowdStrike Falcon to protect their devices have been affected by the crash. Because this level of protection is usually reserved for large organizations, it means it's many of the biggest brands and services that are suffering. Flights across the UK have been grounded. British broadcaster Sky News was off air for hours. Banks and train companies are all reporting problems. It's left Stansted Airport near London checking in people manually and accepting cash payments. A fix has been published by CrowdStrike, which blamed a defect in a software update. Stuart Smith, London.
A Russian court on Friday sentenced US journalist Evan Gershkovich to 16 years in prison on espionage charges. His employer, the Wall Street Journal, had called the trial a shameful sham. FSN's Daria Bundarchuk sent this report from Moscow.
A Russian court has sentenced the Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich to 16 years in prison after finding him guilty of espionage. Moscow claimed he was caught red-handed while gathering information about a military production company that makes tanks in March 2023. There were only 2 hearings on this case, held behind closed doors. Gershkovich did not plead guilty. The U.S. Embassy in Russia stated Moscow failed to provide any evidence supporting the charges. Washington accused Russia of using Gershkovich and other jailed foreigners as bargaining chips for possible prisoner exchanges. Moscow earlier admitted talks of a possible swap were ongoing, but should be held in secret. Gershkovich has become the first American journalist to be arrested on espionage charges in Russia since the Cold War.
And that was the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
A local grandmother is beginning to realize that her family never even looked for a better nursing home. A man leaves a father-daughter dance with a different girl than he came with, and an earthquake late warning system goes off in Haiti. Watch as yet another precious fraction of your life passes mercilessly in front of your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Shortly after discovering he had locked himself outside of his suburban home Thursday, fully nude claims adjuster David Ronzo delivered a moving and thought-provoking treatise on the frailty of the human condition to a slowly gathering crowd of his neighbors. Ronzo, who initially panicked when he realized he was naked, soon turned and faced confused passersby and delivered a stirring oration on the grim facts of mortality, along with the indomitable nature of the human spirit. In other news, a man is arrested for stealing over $50,000 worth of beards from Hank Williams Jr. A pretty lady is playing hard to follow, and a dog named Murph lives up to his name. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. It's talk radio that you control. And 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160. With you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori,
and Peakless Mountaineer.
Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites? Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. That's social.freetalklive.com. So in the last segments, we were talking with the caller, Matthew. He had a lot of info that I hadn't yet heard about the Donald Trump assassination attempt. And we were talking about we were going to get into, I guess we hadn't even really started reading this article, but it was touched on. The Secret Service's excuse of the sloped roof and just other things they were saying about why this occurred under their watch.
Their one weakness, their great kryptonite. A sloped roof, which, quick question, aren't, like, roofs sloped?
Yeah, usually, like, to let water drain off. It's not like roofs
Yeah,
are
so that they
usually,
don't
like,
collect
flat.
so much snow that they cave in?
Yeah.
Not like commercial buildings, though. They usually have flat roofs, right?
You're right, like a Walmart kind of does.
Yeah.
I don't know. How does that work? Like, does Walmart just have tons of snow on top of it?
I assume they have some type of drainage situation up there.
Yeah, now I need to see. I'm interested. Well, we do have other callers on the line, so I'm going to go to their calls. We have Dave Ridley here in New Hampshire. Dave Ridley of RidleyReport.com. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, so the Great Silence. I'll give you 3 guesses as to what news event was not covered in the Keene paper or the Concord paper.
The
You
Trump
mean a
shooting.
local news event or a, like, national news event?
Not even mentioned.
I don't know. The Trump assassination attempt?
Yes. Although
You mean
it's
the
not
loud
quite that-
sound that led to him falling off a stage?
It's not quite. It's
You know,
not
a gunman
quite that
died
simple.
in that.
He was attacked.
It's not quite that. It's not quite that simple. The Concord paper, I guess they did put it in one of their print editions, and if you like, just as of 2 days after the alleged assassination attempt, you had to scroll down. You had to scroll down 6 pages to find anything about it on the Concord Monitor's website, and they had a copy of their print paper that did have something in it, but they didn't have anything really on their online version. Does that make sense?
I don't really see why like a local newspaper would have to.
I mean,
it's pretty big
helpful
news
to them.
It is really big news. I mean, it's kind of like not covering 9/11.
I mean, I just don't even know if like local newspapers had to cover 9/11. You guys can probably heard about it everywhere else.
The Keene paper still hasn't mentioned it. At least I couldn't find any indication. If you type the word Trump on the Keene paper's web, on the main paper in Keene, you type the word Trump on their website, you get a couple of hits. One I think is a letter to the editor, and one is an article about the convention or something like that. But it's just like in these local papers, a media blackout on the apparent assassination attempt.
I'm not saying it's not strange and that it's not like a bad idea for them, because you would think they would want that for like readership. It's weird. And all, but
so that's the thing. That readership is not their job. Like, their job is to control opinion. And like, this is not a good candidate, but it is clearly the better of the two for like human beings, and the worse of the two for the military-industrial complex at all.
So there were, I believe, some things that happened locally in relation to that event, right? I'm not saying that they have to parrot the national coverage that much, although they do almost all the time.
what do you mean?
So they usually cover national stories?
It's very normal to have a local paper just copy and paste the national news somewhere on its website. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you said that there was something related that happened in New Hampshire, and I'm wondering what you mean.
Yeah, I believe there was a prayer vigil for Trump on Sunday, the day after the alleged assassination attempt. I think that was in Keene. I heard about that, and I wasn't looking for stuff.
So
yeah, that would be
hold on,
worthy of mentioning.
just real quick. You keep using alleged assassination attempt. Do you think this was something else, or that there's reasonable suspicion otherwise?
Well, you think there's reasonable suspicion otherwise, correct? And so
it's definitely worth thinking about. But like, I definitely think that this was an assassination attempt, and I mean. I'm going to call it an assassination attempt until I have a good reason to think otherwise.
How could it not be an assassination attempt? I mean, the only thing.
Well, if it was staged.
Yeah, completely staged, like I was saying, with like some kind of
wow,
technology.
Burden
to make
of proof there is pretty high.
Yeah, but
videos
are not
think
proof
so too.
anymore at all.
There is that.
I think it was a real assassination attempt, but I'm not sure. You don't want to just state something as a fact when it's just your opinion.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has done that here. I think we're all pretty much like open to many different possibilities, but some of us have the ones we prefer. I mean, like, or leaning towards, not prefer. I really don't really even have one of those, honestly. I feel like it could be any of the multitude of things going on. But one thing that seems definite is that the Secret Service didn't behave in a way they normally would, and that they have lousy excuses for why they did a bad job, and that is so suspicious.
I think they're just bad at their jobs.
That's definitely
the easiest
never
explanation.
underestimate government incompetence, especially like at the like rubber meets the road kind of level. Like at the top, there is plenty of competence for pulling the strings of different powerful people. But at the DMV, no, they have utter incompetence there. So anywhere where the government rubber hits the road, you can't expect the effect of market discipline to be there.
And their most, important to them job is wars. So they have competence in that. Everything else is just whatever.
Well,
Who
they
cares?
have competence in making sure that the war keeps going.
Right.
That's for sure. Not like succeeding or like, ending them. No. But I don't know. I think it's jarring to hear it called alleged, because I would just this was at least an apparent assassination attempt, and if I find out on the off chance I find out it was staged, then it was a staged assassination attempt. But wild world where, what can we even be sure of other than the blockchain?
So if someone had tried to do this to Biden or to a Democrat candidate on the level of Biden, the likely the likely nominee or whatever. That would have been all over these two local papers, and they would have called the local senators to see what they had to say about it, what their office had to say about it and stuff like that. It would been an easy thing to cover from New Hampshire without going anywhere for a print media like that. So it's just silly.
Why do you think they didn't cover it?
I think it's it just doesn't fit their paradigm. They don't want people talking about how the guy they hate is going. The more coverage they give this, the better he'll do in the election. I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the way they look at it.
It paints him as a hero.
Yep.
And that is the last thing that they want to do. And like, as many commentators have put, and I tend to agree, like, oh, well, he just won the election. Assuming he doesn't die between here and there or some other crazy nonsense.
Or
because
that Michelle Obama
who knows?
becomes
I mean, I don't think that Michelle Obama could pull this iron out of the fire.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm honestly not sure about that. Anything else, Dave Ridley?
That is all.
Thank you so much for the call. And we have another call on the line.
And just a reminder, RidleyReport.com.
Right. Excellent coverage there, and he's not going to do media blackouts of important things. We have Dana in Michigan on. Dana, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hi, guys. A couple of things. First of all, hats off to Ridley for saying that if this happened to Biden or actually any Democrat, we would be long dead before they stopped talking about it. It would be it would be in a time capsule. Do you remember Steve Scalise? He's still a representative Republican that was shot so many times through his midsection, the internal organs. They rushed him into surgery multiple times. He was literally dying over and over and over, even after the surgeries. He was one of them that was shot on the baseball field by a Bernie bro, some old guy that went to the Democratic representatives play the Republicans once a year in a baseball thing. Do you guys remember that? It was during Obama's.
No, I've never heard of that.
Me neither,
honestly.
Reign of Terror, yeah. Oh, they shot up some cops, and this guy did a lot of damage, but they took him out. They killed him. So he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Do you know that just shortly after that, this guy, he was shot up so much. You look up Steve Scalise. He's still a rep. He's been in the House for a while. Anyway, so that just proves that when it happens to anybody on the right or the middle, like a libertarian, if any violence happens, you never hear about it.
Oh, no. Let's be very clear about this. This isn't a left-right thing. Now, at the moment, the right is more libertarian than authoritarian, but this is a populist problem. Their problem is not people on the right. Like, they have every bit as much a desire to hold down the populist movement that is also occurring on the left as they do on the right. Now, the populist motion or movement is a lot more successful in Europe right now than it is in America. But what we have is not left versus right. It is populism versus elitism.
Okay, I would agree with that in part. If you're going to pit it against populism versus elitism, then I would agree. But populism, being about populism alone, I disagree, because look at Obama. So that's where I would disagree, because
Obama is in no way, shape, or form a populist president.
Oh, I disagree with you, but you and I are going to have to agree to disagree. But I do want to make a correction and give you a compliment, Heatless as well as Lori, and I have to say something to Bonnie. So a correction on the caller before the break, Matthew. He said that this woman worked at PepsiCo. She only worked there 3 years. She worked in the Secret Service for almost 30 years. She was a former Secret Service agent, then left to do security and risk management at PepsiCo, and then came back. The reason why she came back is it was Jill Biden as well as her husband, but you know, he's a living vegetable. So it was Joe Biden's office and Joe Biden that pushed for her to be hired. Now, I want to share some more information with you guys that has come out, but I don't know if it was talked about because I apologize. I joined late, so I don't mean to be redundant. This is what the Secret Service, they're so, like, if you make widgets, they better be the best damn widgets in the whole wide world.
Widgets?
And you should slaughter your competition. If you're the Secret Service, you have one job, and it's not making widgets. It's protecting whoever your charge's life is. So in this case, it would have been former President Trump. So, and they screwed that up. Well, let me tell you what they've been busy doing. They have a unity day in the Secret Service. It is to celebrate diversity, and they hosted a seminar on the respectful use of pronouns. How the hell does pronouns have anything to do with when you're supposed to be standing there? I don't care what you call yourself. You better call yourself by your name on your birth certificate, because if I've got to yell to you, I'm not going to remember if you're a he, she, or a cousin it from the Addams family. I'm going to call you out to tell you you better get in place, da-da-da-da-da.
Well, I'd like to point out that their official other duty, like, they were formed not to protect presidents. They were formed to stop so-called counterfeiters. Now, what's a counterfeiter? A counterfeiter is someone who makes money, like, you know, prints it into existence without a license from the government. Like, that is their actual mandate.
But I'm not not going that far back, Peakless, historically.
Well, no, that is still their mandate. Like, they are still, like, the Liberty Dollar guy, he got into trouble with the Secret Service because they are the ones protecting the dollar.
Okay, fine. So the next point I want to make is that they have an inclusion and engagement council. They have been setting up, targeting pride events and trans events to get them to join the Secret Service. Now, this may be offensive to people. I don't have an issue with what you want to do with your life or your body. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do, and it's between you and God. Okay, so there's that. So now that I put that disclaimer out there, these people, by their own admission, have, especially the trans community, the rate of suicide has actually gone up. It was at 40% and holding steady for years. It has gone up to over 40% now.
Well,
there are emotional problems with these people. I do not want these people as members of the Secret Service. They have, some of them have mental issues, some emotional, some both. So to target that group of people is ridiculous. And as far as the gays, you shouldn't be targeting a lifestyle or more specifically, in some cases, a sexual lifestyle. This is a merit thing that they should be doing.
Yeah, it's clearly more important to them that they do proper messaging than that they protect their charges.
And that's exactly the thing. Now that brings me, thank you, Peakless. You brought me to another point. Kimberly Cheadle has this mandate, 30 by 30. She wants 30%, almost a third of all agents under her by 2030 have to be female.
What?
So
That's ridiculous.
Saw, there was that, no disrespect to women who struggle with weight, but we saw the one girl who couldn't, lady, whatever you want to call her, who could not holster her damn gun.
Yeah, she was chunky.
And she was chubby.
Yep.
She had a problem getting down the stairs with Trump. And the other one, the blonde one with her hair pulled back, she had a problem with her stupid sunglasses, and she came up to, like, under his breath.
How are you supposed to cover a man who is 6'3" when you're so small? Now, this is where I want to bring up Peakless and Lori and compliment both of you. Peakless made a remark about something similar to this, and Lori came right out and said, if I'm going to hire a bodyguard, I'm not going to hire Bonnie. Bonnie is tight. She's petite, both in height and girth. I want someone that's an excellent sharpshooter and that can cover me. And I'm a small person too, but I want someone so big you can't see me. And you know what, people? Kudos to you that you had the tenacity to say it, because some of these women, these radical feminists, and some men, you know, the kind that wear the real tight, straight black pants around their ankle, who claim to be male feminists, they have so emasculated men like you, people, that men are afraid to say what is a fact. Only a female has the goal to say it. So
yeah, I mean, like, I'm sorry, but males of this species are biologically, on average, better as protectors.
How are you going to hire
We are literally
a bodyguard?
built for it. Like, that's why we're tall, and why all of our blood goes to our limbs and doesn't hang out in our organs, you know, keeping us not dead. But, like, we are biologically better at this on average. Now, that's not to say that there aren't individual exceptions to this rule. Now, is there a place for female Secret Service agents? Yes, but 30%
Mandating
is
any amount is insane.
Yeah, so I don't care if the job is the Secret Service or Dunkin' Donuts or
Yeah.
whatever it is. If you're hiring people simply because they're black or a woman or gay or whatever it is, it's a stupid idea.
It's called
just hire the
civil
best
rights
person for the job.
laws,
and
and
that's
they're
it.
stupid.
And if a man is better for the job, then that means no women get hired. Well, tough luck.
I will say, I care the absolute least about this.
Yeah.
Like, you know
cares?
what? Oh no.
I mean-
oh no, mass murderers are not being protected properly. Boo friggin' who?
But that problem is pervasive in all aspects of every job. Like the
Right.
whole woke diversity hire thing is stupid.
And the thing
It's
is, it
stupid.
does affect us because back during Hoover being the head of the FBI during JFK, it was RFK's, not Junior's, fault. He made it to where he was forcing them to start doing diversity hires, and Hoover was really against it. Hoover was a terrible person, but he had this correct, that the diversity hires for FBI is bad. Today, the FBI is a bunch of stupid blue-haired women who are idiot liberals, and they do things like make a crazy witch hunt against my husband, and that's like the reason he's in prison. Everybody who testified for
Which again,
the FBI,
I am totally fine with them being incompetent.
but they're not incompetent all the time. They
That's really the
successfully
problem
put him
there.
in prison.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't think like if it was like actually meritocracy in the FBI, I really don't think Ian would be in prison right now. It was a bunch of stupid women, like
yeah, they'd have
obviously
better
liberal
things to
lesbian
do.
women.
And
is
go do like actual work.
Like, is it just me, or does Trump's absolute refusal to go after any of the Secret Service pretty much like saying, yes, I'm in favor of DEI, but don't tell my base?
Maybe he can't do that while he's like. Maybe he needs their protection for now. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to get on their bad side.
I think it'd be pretty obvious that, like, no, none of you are allowed anywhere near me. I will hire my own security service because you got me shot in the head.
Yeah.
Are they allowed
I don't know
to say no to the Secret Service, though?
Yes.
Okay.
And like,
Bonnie, can you hear me?
Yep, you're there.
Okay, Peakless, I think Bonnie just said it. I think that was Bonnie that said it. Peakless, I think this is not a dumb man. He is not dumb. The first thing that went through my head is I'd have fired every single one of them, except the really tall guy that was there. But I think he's playing the long game. He's going to keep his mouth shut until he's in office. And then
if he makes it there, and with these people protecting him, his chances aren't great.
That's a good point. 603-283-6160. We still have a lot to talk about with this Donald Trump attempted assassination. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. Thank you for the call, Dana. More coming up.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, Donald Trump officially became the Republican Party nominee following the party's 4-day convention in Milwaukee. It came less than a week since his attempted assassination, something he spoke about during his acceptance speech. FSN's US correspondent Simon Marks was watching from the convention site in Milwaukee and sent this report.
He started with a very emotive, somewhat subdued description of the attempted assassination that he survived last weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania. I shouldn't be here, he told the convention delegates, and said that he had been saved by the hand of God. After that emotional part of the speech, in which Donald Trump called for unity and healing throughout the country, he then returned to themes that you more often hear in his standard stump speech, and for a considerable part of his 2-hour address was talking about the need to crack down on what he repeatedly referred to as an invasion of illegal immigrants into the United States. He vowed to finish building the wall with Mexico that he started to build during his first term in office, and insisted that he will seal the border between the two countries, although there was no detail provided about exactly how he is going to do that.
Meanwhile, details continue to emerge throughout the week about the attempted assassination. The US Secret Service was reportedly told about a suspicious man using a rangefinder 20 minutes before the gunman opened fire at Donald Trump at the rally in Pennsylvania. FSN's Sally Patterson was monitoring developments.
In a briefing by law enforcement, members of Congress were given a timeline of the moments leading up to Saturday's assassination attempt, which left Donald Trump with an injury to his ear, but alive. Lawmakers were told local police had initially spotted the gunman about an hour before the shooting, but then they lost track of him. There are questions about why the suspect, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, wasn't stopped sooner.
US President Joe Biden's political future remained in serious doubt throughout the week, with more speculation swirling and more Democratic lawmakers saying it was time for him to drop his re-election bid. As of Friday, his campaign was insisting there were no plans for him to give up on his candidacy. FSN's Benji Hire reports.
Joe Biden's offering a temperate defiance whilst holed up at home with COVID-19. Yet since, he's lost the support of major Hollywood donors, Democratic Party heavyweights, 24 lawmakers, and 2/3 of his own voting base. Biden's campaign maintains he's more determined than ever to beat his predecessor Donald Trump in November's election. Benji Hire, Washington.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Talk Live. Welcome back. The number to join the conversation with us, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And I'd like to thank Brett Perry, who's a gold level amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Brett Perry went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks to Brett and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. And we really do appreciate everybody who's an amplifier with us. So yes, you can go to that website, amps.freetalklive.com, if you'd like to learn more. With you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Lori.
And Beakless Mountaineer.
And I'm going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. Dodger in Michigan. Dodger, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to clarify flat roofs.
Okay.
They are not flat.
So what
however,
about like if we drive past a building and it looks like, at least like the top of Walmart, I feel like it looks flat. What are you saying? It's like at a slight slope or something?
yes, it's I want to go 3 different ways with this, but yeah, it's typically somewhere between a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch per foot drop on it. So there's always a drop. I live in Michigan and get similar weather to New Hampshire. So, yeah, there is actually no such thing as, well, I mean, if you want to keep your roof from leaking, I guess you could put a flat roof. But, yeah, there's always a pitch. But the pitch on that roof was a 5%.
Is that a lot?
And I want to, the roof that the shooter was on a 5% pitch, which, just to put that into perspective, the U.S. interstate system, that is the steepest that they allow a pitch. So it's definitely very walkable and drivable, too.
Oh, on a road, the U.S. interstate system will allow that much of a slope?
Well, allow up to a 5% pitch.
Wow,
And
that
now,
doesn't seem like much at all then.
Right?
Yeah, a flat roof typically has, it's less than a 0.5% pitch.
I have never been on
yeah.
a interstate highway where I felt like, whoa, this is steep.
Really?
Or maybe like Colorado, it was kind of. No, the thing about Colorado was it was like curvy. Yeah, I can't think of like a.
Right,
in
exactly.
Arizona.
They have to curve it out so that it doesn't hit too big of a grade.
Terrifying.
In Arizona, they have like
driving along
13%
it
grades from Sedona going back, and like it's like this. They have all these runoffs where if.
But that would be not an interstate highway, right?
No, it is. It's a highway. Well, I don't know. What's the difference? Interstate highway.
They go, literally
between
states.
Who pays for it?
And they're usually like bigger. It probably does really just come down to who pays for it. I don't know. I've never been on
I just wanted to contrast that with actually just, and I'll get off the phone after this, but just based on what I've seen, the pitch of the roof that they actually had the snipers on was closer to about a 15% pitch. So, in all honesty, that roof being too much of a pitch to be on top of is kind of BS.
Thank you for keeping it radio friendly. It is 100% BS.
It does seem like.
Oh yes. Well, I just when I saw it, and it's like, all right, well, it's not safe for people to be up there, but it's safe for somebody to be up there. It just didn't click home to me. Now, I'm obviously like a volunteerist. I've been a long-time caller, just not a frequent caller. But it's just some stuff doesn't add up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, the most charitable explanation we have is that they catastrophically failed in their job, that the meagerest of possible security protocols would have avoided this. And I just don't think that is realistic. This sounds like it was a fix. It was an attempted assassination that the Secret Service was in on. I mean, between not covering that roof, which is very obviously your job, and the sniper who did eventually get him in one shot, waiting.
Yeah, giving him more opportunity.
Let me make sure that's not the police.
Around there. The videos of all the people around there shouting, there's a guy on the roof, he has a gun. I've seen those videos too.
Minutes before this occurred.
Like several minutes. And TMZ is the one that released that video. Don't know where they got it from, but yeah, I mean that there are videos like this was a catastrophic failure, and
at least like the most charitable explanation is that this is a catastrophic failure, and I think that is unreasonable. I think that is beyond like it's beyond parsimony. Like the simplest explanation is often the most correct explanation. And I think the simpler explanation is not that they failed miserably in their one job in this circumstance. It's that at least the important people were in on this. And I mean, we know
maybe somebody wanted it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the FBI has been caught attempted to undermine his campaign. Like we know that within the bureaucratic state there is a tremendous anti-Trump sentiment, and we know that everything has failed to get him out of this race. Like, they tried to jail him, and that did not get him out of this race. Like, the next level up is to try and kill him.
Or both things could be true. It could have been a real assassination attempt, and they could have also been like, well, if it's going to happen, let's just let it happen.
There is that.
So,
we're encouraging.
I don't think that there is any way that some of the narratives that I have heard are possible, which was it was staged just to give him a leg up. That is the one thing that I'm pretty sure did not happen, because I mean, I've got some cousins that are marksmen, and they're like, I don't care how good of a shot you are, there's no way that you're pointing a gun at my head and shooting it, and I trust you to only hit my ear. No.
Well, okay, let's steel man the opposition here. Like, I haven't heard anyone arguing that. Now, the argument there would be that it was either, some Hollywood something or other, like a blood packet, or that, he had like a razor in his hand and nicked his own ear. Like, that would definitely be the way that you would do this, and then have them shoot someone behind him, so that it. It was definitely the bullet then,
and so that they can still get the emotional energy out of this harvest.
Yeah, which I mean, the man absolutely died a hero protecting his family.
Yeah,
like that is a fact.
So sad.
And that's the most tragic thing about this whole thing, is that somebody lost their life
it was kind of sad that Trump didn't lead with that, with his
over some crap.
His speech about it. I feel like he should have definitely led with it. It was like he went like, yeah, and we got shot at, we survived, no one in the crowd moved, we have brave people, blah blah blah, like laughing about it almost, and then he's like, by the way, somebody did die. Let's have a moment of silence for them. That's kind of like rude.
Yeah, but I mean, that's very on brand for Trump, though. Like, he's real.
Makes me
I'm the best one.
A little annoyed with him, then. I feel like that's definitely, like, a character flaw. I didn't like
What? Are you suggesting that he is not the, pinnacle of good taste?
He's Christ.
At the very least, I feel like somebody helping him write his speech should have been like, this is what you gotta do. You gotta, start off
I don't think he lets anyone help write his speeches. He just goes out there and grandstands.
I've never looked into it, honestly. He might get help with his speeches. I really just don't know. Thank you so much for the call, Dodger in Michigan. Before we move on to other calls, I want to tell people what exactly we're talking about here. I don't think we've really covered it yet enough, so I just want to explain. This is from NewYorkPost.com. This is what Kimberly Cheatle, the Secret Service director who says she has no plans to resign, said after the attempted assassination of Trump. She said, quote, that building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof, she told ABC News in a startling admission.
Did I miss a memo about what they're supposed to do? I thought literally the point of the Secret Service at an event like this is to kind of put their lives in danger so that the president's life doesn't get put in danger.
Are they also saying that this 20-year-old who got kicked out of the gun club because he wasn't good enough is better than their Secret Service agents since he could get up there and do it?
Just better at not falling off a roof too. And
Yeah.
how do you get up there? Like, is there like
There was a ladder.
apparently.
Oh, a ladder, and it was just
So
there.
I've heard that the ladder was just there, and I've also heard that he bought a ladder. So which one is it?
So he
Because if
walked
he
around
bought
with
a
a giant
ladder,
ladder?
right? If you're walking around with a giant ladder, wouldn't somebody be like,
and a gun?
"What are you doing?"
Yeah. It says, so she continues and says, and so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside. So there were people inside this building and they didn't notice somebody climbing up a ladder on the side.
Oh, yeah. There were apparently police and Secret Service inside the building that the shooter was on top of.
Maybe they thought it was like acorns, and they're
Or-
like, "We better not go out there."
Or rather, I should say, the alleged shooter. Because again, this guy is so bad at shooting that he was not allowed into the gun club.
He might have, not been the only shooter or the actual shooter at all.
Yeah,
Might
seems to
just be
me that he
completely
was
passive.
the fall guy because, of course, there is always a fall guy, and that there was someone who was actually good at shooting, so much so that he did actually hit Trump in the head.
They took out Alex Jones right before we needed him to give us the biggest story. He would have the documents.
Whoa.
You know, he's getting shown up on his own accomplishments, though. Because apparently there was like 20 kids who got all of this footage from Bohemian Grove out.
Wow. Well, he did it way back in the day.
He
before
did.
There
He
was
he was the first by far, and no one's really done it since until now.
Didn't he do it in like 2000 or 2001 or something?
Yeah, thereabouts.
And there wasn't, everyone had a phone.
Back when you could actually like suffer political losses as a Republican if it came out that you were gay.
Whoa.
Which, no, that was literally the point of Bohemian Grove. They do not have trust. They're politicians. They know better than to trust each other. So what they have instead is a network of blackmail.
Yep.
And on the one hand, you had it used to be, especially the Republican Party, that if it came out that you were, having sex with men, or especially,
young men.
Exactly. That would be utterly destructive of your career. Now, at this point, that's not as effective of a tactic, so they've really
now
lost
Obama
a lot of their
just,
place.
Talks
Now-
about how great it is that he did.
I heard that the Grindr app went down during the RNC.
You know,
Well, is that
that
because
does
of the
not
whole-
surprise me at all.
What was it called? The
Like it was overloaded.
crowd strike thing?
No.
Oh.
No, I think it was just like
Overuse.
overuse.
Yeah. Now, mind you, this is the same sort of a thing as Epstein. Like Jeffrey Epstein's job is to compromise powerful people, and this was the same job that was of Bohemian Grove. Compromise powerful people so that then you can support them.
Well, they were also killing people. There was people screaming from the burning effigy thing, and it's also
Oh yeah, the mock human sacrifice part.
it's also I know mock. There's
Well,
people screaming in that
It
video.
appears to be a mock human sacrifice, which, by the way, it is like the creepiest thing. Like underneath a big stone owl, they are sacrificing care.
Yeah,
is the
that's the thing,
name
it's a
of the
cremation
human
of care.
being that they are sacrificing to this giant owl.
The reason
so
care-
if you ever wonder how could these people be so callous as to, send just millions of people to die for their own egos and their pocketbooks, well, they literally performed a pagan sacrifice of their own care.
It's called the cremation of care ritual, and the reason that the owl is the symbol of it is because an owl flies up above and has more view of what's going on, and is a predator among birds, and they kill something representing their own care to reinforce to themselves, because that's what rituals are. It's like a reinforcement to your own subconscious.
Right. Well, and most importantly, the owl is a silent night bird.
Right.
Like it is the ultimate assassin bird. Like it's not especially great at flying because of the sacrifices it has to make in its feathers to be utterly silent. Yeah. So and there's also the fact that the owl has been a sacred animal of usually the goddess of wisdom going back.
Athena is one.
Athena, Is or Isis as you might know her, and not the Islamic State in Sudan or what have you, but
Egyptian goddess.
yeah, there is pretty much always, and just wisdom. Like it has always been a symbol of wisdom. So you have this combination of these terrifying death goddesses, wisdom, and silent assassination style of thing. So like all of those are kind of this perfect symbol in the owl, which what is it? Oh, we are the wise people. We get to carry out these acts in the middle of the night that no one else gets to shed light on.
It's like you're the mouse. You only see what's going on the floor of the.
Yeah, there you are in the field.
You can only see like 2D. That we see everything that's really going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they're trying to say with that.
Yeah,
It's like very 13-year-old girl being a witch.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, so here's the thing. Like, this is basically like, remember, this
As
is
80-year-old men.
It's a gang.
Yeah.
This is a gang, and like any other gang, it has tags. Except instead of using spray paint to make, letters that you can't read but they can, they will, for example, build an entire like bank clock tower that just so happens to look like an owl when you view it from most angles.
Or Batman. That's what I always saw at the Frost one in Nashville, at least.
Yeah, I mean, in Pembroke, there's a clock tower that, from my house, looks like a friggin' owl with one of those, like, graduation caps on its head.
Whoa.
It's
Like,
just really
this
lame.
is-
Like, if my friends
yeah.
came up to me and they were like, hey, you want to, like, do rituals and, like, wear hoods and, like, have secret little seances and stuff, I'd be like,
Huzzah.
no, that's lame. We're not 13.
Well, and it's,
like, I saw The Craft a long time ago, and I already went through all of that.
Well, it's a no girls allowed club anyway. Just like the Freemasons and the Skull and Bone.
Well, they're missing out because we're better.
Where's their diversity, equity, and inclusion?
We're going to start our own.
We do have a caller on the line. Ricky from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Ricky, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Thank you there, Miss Bonnie. Sister Lord Peak was down there. Good evening.
Evening.
Well, I got Trump on the mind there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm sitting here, and I got this thing on, and Trump almost gets blown away, And here's a summary I got. The key points, bullet points here. This guy, the lone shooter, 20 years old, was 141 feet away, which isn't the farthest in the world, but that's a considerable distance. Trump turns, he almost gets his face blown off, would have been a perfect headshot, and he got the fireman in the head. So I got all kinds of problems with this. The Secret Service was pathetic. I'm with Peakless on this. I think that it's somebody wanted to kill Trump, and who knows what the hell the Secret Service was thinking about all this.
I think they were involved.
Yeah,
I totally think so. This is
simplest explanation seems to be
There's
that.
FBI all over this.
And doesn't that just suck? That we are never going to get to know.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Their whole power is controlling information. They control people by controlling information.
And this is why I'm kind of scared about the whole thing that you guys were talking about, the crowd strike down. I think that they are trying to prepare us for like them getting rid of the internet because they don't like.
I think that was a dry run. They are going to take down probably the entire internet for I don't know how long. They're going to blame it on the Russians and use that as another attempt to put us in World War III.
That will be catastrophic. If they take down the internet, it will be catastrophic.
Yes.
Like, absolutely.
Right. Well, I mean, do you think we don't have fatigue at this point? You think we want to go to World War III? No, they need to light a fire under us to go to World War III. And that kind of catastrophe is exactly the sort of thing that's in their playbook.
Mm-hmm.
No, Peakless is right. If Trump would have got his face blown off, now there's all kinds
Civil
of
war
things wrong
already,
with
now,
this 20-year-old
today.
kid. It would have been a civil war. It would have been a bad one.
Yes.
Despite my dislike for Trump, I don't want to see him get blown away. I really don't, despite the disaster that would happen. But I'll tell you what is going to happen, the QAnon people. These are crazy MAGA people. They're going to eat this right up, and Trump already knows. The hand of God, no doubt. And he lies like nobody's ever seen. He says he's never going to talk about this again. You think I really believe that?
If you believe that, I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you.
No doubt.
I believe what part?
Oh, so like in his RNC speech, he said, "I'm going to mention it this once, but only this once because it's too painful." It's like, oh, sure.
Wow, about the whole assassination attempt? Yeah, I don't believe
I
that.
was watching it. No, I was watching it. It was painful. Step by step, inch by inch. It seemed to go on forever, the shooting. And the details. He was already on Truth Social within, what, a half an hour or so?
Yeah.
People
Saying,
wanted to hear about it. I clicked on it
guys.
when I saw the title.
I mean, if he's smart, and he's not like, the most intelligent person, but he's very cunning.
Yeah.
He's a very cunning person. Now that he said he won't mention it again, he shouldn't. Like, if he's cunning as he seems, he shouldn't mention it again so he can make himself seem
the man doesn't
better,
have a filter.
you know?
I've seen him attempt to hold himself back from saying things and then fail. Like, he doesn't have that ability. It's just not in his set of tools.
His first ad already came out the day after he got shot. It didn't like mention him getting shot, but it was definitely like hinting at it. It was like, I'm the only thing standing in the way of them between
he said
the people.
He said that they don't want me, they want you, and I'm standing in their way.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was definitely kind of alluding to it, and he's definitely like using it as a
talking
point at least.
On the one hand, like, it is worth, looking at some of these things. On the other hand, like, is anyone really that surprised? Like, I was honestly surprised that it took this long for someone to try and kill him.
No.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of figuring that would happen, before he took office as president, during his entire first term, anytime up until now.
It's probably because it's actually hard. Like, it's not easy to just get into the presence of Trump.
I mean, it seems like it was pretty easy.
They made that's what I'm saying. It wasn't until, like, I think that's the whole thing. Like, if it was just this easy to kill Trump, somebody probably would have by now. It's that it's actually very hard, and Secret Service had to allow it.
Well, but we also didn't get any stories out about attempts. I mean, like, as far as I know, this is the first attempt to assassinate him.
I hadn't heard anything, you're right, about some like very failed attempt or anything like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably pretty easy and just nobody tried.
I mean, I don't think the Secret Service actually wants him to survive.
Right.
So
it doesn't seem that way.
So thank you for the call, Ricky.
Oh, and since you bring up Truth Social, I got to reiterate that I think this is a key part of like the mystery to this story is that someone shorted an enormous amount of Truth Social stock immediately before this occurred.
Whoa.
So like it seems to me like this was a failed honest attempt at assassination that somebody knew a good deal about.
Who? Like who sold?
Good question.
Yeah, isn't that
Wouldn't that be worth knowing?
Yeah, shouldn't that be like if you've got nothing to hide, then
Well, I'm
speak
sure
up?
that if there is a report on this, like the 9/11 report, they will say that it is not of interest where the money came from or
they'll
where it
just
went.
say that it was somebody that they want to put away for something else. They'll say, "Oh, it was this guy's," and make it look that way.
It was
do whatever.
Oh, you're talking specifically about the money. Well, I was going to say it's Iran. Maybe it was Iran's money too. Well, unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Well, I was listening to this. It's great conversation.
Do you have anything you want to say? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
My thoughts are that it's the craziest thing. Just one more in a long list of crazy. Yeah, unbelievable.
It is. It's shocking that this kind of stuff is being allowed to happen by the Secret Service, and that I feel like that's the only thing you can say. That it's being allowed to happen. It's not just like an accident or like something that was like impossible to stop. 603-283-6160. More coming up on Free Talk Live. Don't go anywhere. 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. It's Free Talk Live.
Still coming up short at the supermarket? I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. You could be suffering shrinkflation. Same price, less stuff. It's not your imagination. That cereal box is skinnier. That bag of Doritos is now a half-ounce smaller, averaging 5 fewer chips per, according to Forbes, which reports that a bottle of Aleve has gone from 100 caplets to 90. Cottonelle Mega Roll toilet paper shrank from 340 sheets to 312 sheets. Is nothing sacred? Compare unit price, not item price. Those name products that are shorting you have to cover the cost of advertising that made you brand loyal, unlike store brands, which in many cases are made by the same supplier. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.fm.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, Donald Trump officially became the Republican Party nominee following the party's 4-day convention in Milwaukee. It came less than a week since his attempted assassination, something he spoke about during his acceptance speech. FSN's US correspondent Simon Marks was watching from the convention site in Milwaukee and sent this report.
He started with a very emotive, somewhat subdued description of the attempted assassination that he survived last weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania. I shouldn't be here, he told the convention delegates, and said that he had been saved by the hand of God. After that emotional part of the speech, in which Donald Trump called for unity and healing throughout the country, he then returned to themes that you more often hear in his standard stump speech, and for a considerable part of his 2-hour address was talking about the need to crack down on what he repeatedly referred to as an invasion of illegal immigrants into the United States. He vowed to finish building the wall with Mexico that he started to build during his first term in office, and insisted that he will seal the border between the two countries, although there was no detail provided about exactly how he is going to do that.
Meanwhile, details continue to emerge throughout the week about the attempted assassination. The US Secret Service was reportedly told about a suspicious man using a rangefinder 20 minutes before the gunman opened fire at Donald Trump at the rally in Pennsylvania. FSN's Sally Patterson was monitoring developments.
In a briefing by law enforcement, members of Congress were given a timeline of the moments leading up to Saturday's assassination attempt, which left Donald Trump with an injury to his ear, but alive. Lawmakers were told local police had initially spotted the gunman about an hour before the shooting, but then they lost track of him. There are questions about why the suspect, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, wasn't stopped sooner.
US President Joe Biden's political future remained in serious doubt throughout the week, with more speculation swirling and more Democratic lawmakers saying it was time for him to drop his re-election bid. As of Friday, his campaign was insisting there were no plans for him to give up on his candidacy. FSN's Benji Hire reports.
Joe Biden's offering a temperate defiance whilst holed up at home with COVID-19. Yet since he's lost the support of major Hollywood donors, Democratic Party heavyweights, 24 lawmakers, and 2/3 of his own voting base. Biden's campaign maintains he's more determined than ever to beat his predecessor Donald Trump in November's election. Benji Hire, Washington.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN. This week saw the largest ever IT outage. It affected Microsoft products and systems, but it was linked to a problem with security provider CrowdStrike, which provides large organisations with IT protection. FSN's Stuart Smith sent this report from London.
It's estimated billions of computer systems that use CrowdStrike Falcon to protect their devices have been affected by the crash. Because this level of protection is usually reserved for large organizations, it means it's many of the biggest brands and services that are suffering. Flights across the UK have been grounded. British broadcaster Sky News was off air for hours. Banks and train companies are all reporting problems. It's left Stansted Airport near London checking in people manually and accepting cash payments. A fix has been published by CrowdStrike, which blamed a defect in a software update. Stuart Smith, London.
A Russian court on Friday sentenced US journalist Evan Gershkovich to 16 years in prison on espionage charges. His employer, the Wall Street Journal, had called the trial a shameful sham. Ever since Daria Bundarchuk sent this report from Moscow.
A Russian court has sentenced the Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich to 16 years in prison after finding him guilty of espionage. Moscow claimed he was caught red-handed while gathering information about a military production company that makes tanks in March 2023. There were only 2 hearings on this case, held behind closed doors. Gershkovich did not plead guilty. The U.S. Embassy in Russia stated Moscow failed to provide any evidence supporting the charges. Washington accused Russia of using Gershkovich and other jailed foreigners as bargaining chips for possible prisoner exchanges. Moscow earlier admitted talks of a possible swap were ongoing, but should be held in secret. Gershkovich has become the first American journalist to be arrested on espionage charges in Russia since the Cold War.
And that was the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Sony released this week the Nasal HD 340s, a brand new pair of high-quality nose buds designed to let users blast different scents into their nostrils throughout the day. The Onion let consumers across the nation sound off about their excitement for the new product.
I've always got them in my nose. At work, at the gym, on the bus, wherever. These days, I can't stop smelling tennis ball.
Retailing for $49.99, the nose buds accompany the launch of Sony's new online odor store, which sells over 22,000 different smells for download and immediate inhalation. Still, not everyone is quite as enthusiastic about the new product.
These things suck. I mean, a lot of times it only works out of the right nostril. The other day I tried smelling picnic table. It smelled more like hardwood floor. And also, to be honest, I have a really hard time breathing with these things on.
This is the Onion News Network.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160. And we've been podcasting since podcasts began, but we're officially launching a new podcast anyway. Our new podcast is 30 to 45 minutes and once a week, and you can find it at freetalkcast.com. It's brought to you by the same people who bring you Free Talk Live, and we'd love for you to check it out. Again, that's freetalkcast.com. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori,
and Peakless Mountaineer.
And that number is 603-283-6160 that you can call to get in on the conversation with us. But in the last segment, we talked about what Kimberly Cheadle, I don't know how else to say her name.
I'm pretty sure that you're pronouncing it correctly.
Cheadle, okay. The director of the Secret Service, her excuse about the sloped roof. So we explained what that was. She said that the roof that Crooks was standing on, the man that allegedly tried to assassinate Donald Trump and did actually get a shot at his head, at his ear. Kimberly Cheadle says that the roof was too sloped for them to have Secret Service people on, even though it's like a roof in the, bubble around Trump that they're supposed to be protecting, where obviously somebody had a clear shot towards them. She said it was just too sloped for them to safely put an officer on. So they'd put them inside of it, which honestly, the more I thought about it, the more I thought it would be kind of easy for someone to get on a roof and not be noticed by the people inside, which is like more evidence that that's dumb.
Yep.
Like if somebody got up on my roof right now from like the back of the house, we wouldn't know.
Right.
So, and if they knew that this roof was unsecured, you think they should have someone watching it?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. At least looking at it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a very direct, obvious, like, line of sight. It's 400 feet away from the guy. Like, that is, like, a rifle, an ordinary, like, rifle that one uses for hunting, can very easily hit a target anywhere within 500 feet. Like, that's the cutoff for easy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the fact that this was not being secured, I mean, it is at the very least a profound level of incompetence, and very likely this was intentional.
Yeah.
So we have this article about a security expert ripping on that excuse. So let's see what he has to say. It says an executive security expert ripped Secret Service Chief Kimberly Cheadle for failing to protect former President Trump on Saturday, saying the agency needs to clean house, especially after her sloped roof excuse.
I wish that the article was just like, he said, doubt. And then that's the end of the article.
His response, doubt.
His response, press X to doubt.
Yeah.
It says, Bill Stanton, who has worked in the field for 4 decades, took aim at Cheadle's assertion that agents passed on manning a nearby roof used by shooter Thomas Crooks because it was sloped. The would-be assassin climbed to the roof of the building and squeezed off several rounds that injured Trump and killed rally attendee Corey Comparator. 2 others were critically wounded. He said, her explanation that it was dangerous that the roof was pitched, to me, is the equivalent of a school child saying that the dog ate their homework. How does that pass muster for anybody, regardless of political affiliation?
Good question. Yeah, I gotta say, if it was a guy, would he have been fired?
Right, because they're looking for as many women as they can find that want to do this job because they need 33% by 2030. Or maybe it was 30%.
It was 30%.
That
Close
was the
enough.
Illuminati in me showing.
Well, that's what happens when you listen to too much Lady Gaga. Her and her Illuminati rituals. Gotta cut your wrists open and put some honey in there.
Well, we do. This is a Call and Talk radio show, and we have a caller on the line. Gigi from South Carolina. Gigi, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Good evening, everybody. Long time no talk to.
Yes.
I'm happy to say my husband and I have been receiving 1 letter per week from Ian, and we love hearing that he's well and in good health and keeping high hopes and good spirits up. And I would like to contribute something this evening. This is just my personal opinion. Everyone listening is free to disagree. I watched on Thursday evening the Republican National Convention on television, and there was the Reverend Billy Graham Jr. giving his speech and then doing a prayer. And at the very end of his prayer, he invoked the name Jesus Christ. And I went ballistic. I started screaming at the TV. I woke my husband up. He fell asleep on the couch. And he said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And so I told Jeff what had just transpired. And he said, "What do you expect?" And I have a big problem with any particular religious person or name being invoked at any political program, format, meeting, whatever you want to call it. I don't feel that it was appropriate for the Reverend Graham to have said that. There were people attending the convention from various religious affiliations, and I just really, really hate that. And
I don't get it. Like, what is your issue?
I don't think that it's government funded when it's just the GNC, is
no,
it?
it wasn't government funded.
Just wondering.
as
So
a
what's
Jewish
your
person,
issue?
And I have family members that are registered Republicans, and they practice their Judaism, and I have family members that are Catholic, and they are also very active in the Republican Party. I don't necessarily feel that having a prayer in any particular name, whether it's Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, I don't feel it belongs at a political program.
Well, I think that is
It's
completely
just my
unrealistic.
opinion.
Like,
Pardon?
I think that's completely unrealistic. Like, this is a big part of people's lives. And like this is, and prayer is one of those things that, unlike a lot of other religious practices, can be done anywhere, anytime. So, I mean,
Well, we're seeing that for sure, because now in Louisiana, in public schools from kindergarten to grade 12, they can say a prayer in school, and I have a problem with that as well.
then that is absolutely disgusting. Like, they have a right to pray. It's freedom of speech and freedom of religion at the same time. Like, now, if you're making them pray, that's an issue.
If you pay property taxes and your kid goes to a public school and maybe your family is Muslim, would you want a prayer with a Christian overtone or a Jewish overtone in the morning over the loudspeaker?
So what I have a problem with all of this is public school.
Yeah.
That's it. Just
Yeah, no. So let's back this up a second. Like, okay, you are sending your children into a very, very unsafe environment. They are
you're right
immediately
about
way more likely to get shot.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes, sir.
infinitely more likely to get shot than you just keeping them at home.
Yeah,
they are
Yes, sir,
infinitely
I
more
agree.
likely to get molested than you keeping them at home. Like,
I agree.
They are certainly going to be required to take unsafe vaccines in order to get into that school in the first place. And if you don't think vaccines are unsafe, then let me ask you, why is it that they cannot sue the manufacturer? That tax dollars are used in a fund to recompense anyone who would have otherwise sued the manufacturer? Because they're not safe.
That. I don't know.
So,
don't
I mean,
have
like-
a science background or a medical background.
Which God
so
they worship
I have no
at these
idea how to
indoctrination
answer that.
camps is immaterial. The fact that we are allowing them to take our children out of our homes is insane, and it needs to stop.
I just wanted to express my opinion about the prayer.
Well, I mean, so I get you not wanting it to be on the loudspeaker in the morning. Like, I kind of get that, but like, if it's just a person praying, they do have a right to do that.
I didn't say that the Reverend Graham didn't have a right to do that. I simply said my personal opinion. I don't like it. That's all I'm saying. I felt very uncomfortable.
But only once he said Jesus Christ.
That is absolutely correct.
Well, and I think that's a little bigoted.
Okay, you're entitled to your opinion. I wouldn't want a rabbi up there at the Republican convention saying a prayer in Hebrew, invoking something from Judaism. That would also bother me.
They don't have to do that because they just support Israel with everybody there at the RNC.
Yeah, well, Israel is a very godless organization.
It is another issue. Whole other issue. And I think we all agree that it's not good.
The situation is not good. Yes, I would agree with that as well.
Well, and
you are entitled to your opinion if you feel that my response was bigoted. I take umbrage with that. I don't feel that my opinion is
specifically that
expressing
you were
bigotry,
fine with it
but
until
again,
Jesus Christ.
That is the beauty of Free Talk Live. We are all encouraged to call in and express our viewpoints. That's what I love about this show.
Me too.
And and Peak List Mountaineer just is expressing his opinion back. I don't think that we're trying to stop you.
Absolutely.
I don't know why I called you Trump.
You know,
and the
that's
way in
perhaps
which
the worst thing that I've been called on this
Same as
program.
me, cordially, as a gentleman, as a lady, and with the understanding that, again, it is our right and it is the mission statement of Free Talk Live. And thank goodness we can do that on the phone, calling in and expressing different perspectives, and the host can do the same. Again, the mission statement of Free Talk Live encourages all of us to do that. That's what I love about this program.
Me too, and thank you so much for the call, Gigi. I really am glad that there is something out there where anyone can call in with whatever topic and like hot take that they want and tell people about it and get it out on the airwaves. And the thing I love about the radio is like anybody could hear it. Like it's just so it's magical.
And honestly, I do think that this is a topic worth going into for a second. So like if like it being in school on the loudspeaker, no, that's wrong. You are, number one, stealing our money, and then you are using this stolen money, usually in the form of land taxes, to have a captive audience and to amplify this particular form of speech.
Mm-hmm. That's what they do.
That's what's wrong there, not the particular content, not that it's one religion or another that they're using that for. It's like, that's the wrong part.
But if all kids are like forced to be in this public school setting, and then a kid next year wants to pray to Jesus, that there should be nothing wrong with that.
Right. Also, it should not be surprising that the Republican National Convention had a Christian prayer, because I feel like it's so well known stereotypically that it's the Christian party.
Yeah, I mean that has been their thing for a while. It's part of why they went all nutty for a while, is that they instead of being just the party of the people, they were really, really targeting like the most Christian-y Christians.
Mm-hmm.
But
they were like, if you could put a picture of, so Mormons have like a very stereotypical look, and I feel like if you think of what a Republican looks like, that's it. That's what a Republican family looks like.
Probably would pull up a picture of Billy Graham Jr.
And I mean, I'm certainly no fan of organized religion, of like rigid hierarchies, of any of that. But at the same time, like it's become unfashionable to express your religion in public, and I think that is also very dangerous, because like I think that a huge part of what is wrong with our country right now is that people do not have meaning in their lives. And the reason for that is because the narratives that have been giving our lives meaning have been stripped from us. And really, it's just kind of a knock-on effect of Darwin, honestly. Was like, okay, well, now we have a apparently better explanation for the emergence of species and of the existence of the universe. So it's pretty much stripped God out of the worldview of people. And when you do that, you also take away like the reason that they exist.
Well, the other thing about it is like science is just a religion, and nowadays the way that they treat it like, oh, you can't look at things from different perspectives than how the experts have decided, and that is not how science supposed to go.
Yeah, and that's the worst part of religion. And the thing about religion is that it exactly. And like, for all of their faults, religions do have this tendency to sort of work with human blind spots. And that's why I don't think that they should be gotten rid of. But we do absolutely need to pay attention to, like, okay, there are tendencies in religion that are very, very bad. Mm-hmm. So, like, let's take our knowledge of history, and let's, insulate ourselves to what we know are problems that reoccur with religion. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, because one of the things about these things that have been guiding our lives throughout human existence is that they cover for things that we can't see. And not only that, but they cover for things that we don't know we can't see.
I feel like saying that religion missing has taken away meaning from people's lives, and that's why things are so bad, kind of says that people are inherently bad, which I don't believe.
I don't mean to imply that. I mean that, like, these were narratives that gave people a purpose, mm-hmm. that they knew what they were on earth to do. And when you take away that narrative, with it, you take away why they exist. And when you take away a person's reason for being, is it any wonder that they, get hooked on fentanyl, for example? Because why not? There's no purpose to my existence. I may as well get as much hedonistic pleasure as quickly as possible. I may as well burn it down just to watch the flames.
I guess I just don't get that.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't know what the
it's not
purpose of
the
my
only-
existence is, and I'm not out like shooting up in an alley somewhere.
Well, I think on some level you do. On some level,
It's
you
to be a good
obviously,
person.
and for you, that is sufficient.
Yeah.
And you have enough faith in that. And not everyone can manage that.
Like no matter what happens afterwards, that's if there is a God, if there isn't a God, like being a good person, either you made your life better here and everyone around you by being a good person, or if there's something afterwards, being a good person will get you to the reward that would come afterwards, hopefully, you would think. So like that's it. Just be a good person. That's the correct answer.
Well, and that's the question, though. So, like, some people look at it as in the form of like a rewarding and punishing God. Some people look at it in the form of rewarding and punishing afterlives. But the idea of like, does what we do matter? Will it last beyond our own existence?
Why does it have to, though? Why does it have to last beyond our own existence?
Because if it's all gone the second I'm gone, then there's no point doing the hard thing. Why do the difficult thing when it's just going to be erased the second I stop breathing?
Because it makes a difference in the world around you.
But does it? That's the question. So, like, you have faith in that truth that doesn't need to be bolstered by a powerful spiritual being or by a system of reincarnation or anything like that. And I applaud your faith. I think it's well put. I think it's correctly aimed, but a lot of people don't. And I can't really blame them for not having, similarly, faith in what they cannot know. I mean, I think you're right. I think it is objectively correct that what you do lasts beyond you. And I even would go so far as to say that I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that every lesson that every human being ever learns in any of our lives stays with all of humanity forever.
Yes.
And is this little drop in an ocean of the continually expanding human wisdom. That's my honest belief.
Yes, because so if I'm a terrible person and I raise my kids and I'm terrible to them, they're going to grow up to be terrible people. And then it's going to continue on generation after generation of terrible people. But if you're a good person and you are good to people around you and you're good to your children that you raise up and they're good to people, then that's going to continue.
Well, and so here's one of the issues. So the religion / ideology of scientism, if you will, basically puts that no, children are just blank slates.
Not true.
And no matter what you do, it won't change. Your kids will just grow up to be what they will be no matter what because genetics.
Incorrect.
I hate that. I hate it so much. It's
and
so
that,
obviously false.
And
but that's what scientists say, and they'll argue with you if you say otherwise.
Right, exactly. That you're a product of your genes and your environment, and that is all. And that it doesn't matter that you do this thing because their kids can just be terrible little monsters, and it's just a 50-50 chance, and that is why we are literally killing ourselves. Is because we don't have faith in a purpose. And look, to be honest, the reason I believe in this is because I believe in morphogenic fields. That's literally why I believe this is true.
Ian called me today just
I
to tell
can't
me.
blame anyone for not believing in morphogenic fields.
Explain what morphogenic fields are.
Ian called me today to tell me he's reading a book by Rupert Sheldrake, and I was like, oh,
Nice.
morphogenic fields.
Yeah, that's the dude. That's the dude. He got kicked out of the scientific community because he pointed out, hey, here's a list of 10 assumptions that we base everything on that have no scientific testing or validity. They are the dogmas of science. And he was roundly denounced, kicked out. His TED Talk was taken down. Oof.
Yeah, you can't argue with what they have established, or else you are a kook.
Right.
That's
I thought
it.
he was older than Ted.
And the thing is, it doesn't even have the advantage of being a religion. Because a religion has a tendency to include parts that will shield you from certain human weaknesses, whereas scientism is so new that it is completely undeveloped.
How could anyone be a part of scientism when you could go and read a study, right, and base your beliefs on that, and then a month later go and read a study that contradicts everything that you based your whole belief system on.
Confirmation bias. We will discount information that doesn't confirm what we believe.
And a lot of studies just don't get published when they when they contradict what science has already said is the case.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah. And
a lot of studies get pulled after they're published.
Right.
For being wrong.
And remember, these people have a deep and profound faith in the clergy that we call scientists and professors.
603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up. You can call 603-283-6160. We'll get to more callers in the last segment here coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's Free Talk Live.
Some of you have wanted to support Free Talk Live's mission on a monthly basis, but don't want to support Patreon. Now we have an alternative that also helps our premier streaming platform, Odyssey. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click join at the top of the channel. You can subscribe for $5 per month, and unlike other subscription services, Odyssey adds their processing fee on top, so it'll cost a little over $5 per month, but Free Talk Live will receive the entire amount you pledged. Higher donation tiers are available if you're feeling so inspired. You'll get a special membership badge that's visible in the Odyssey chat room, and if we get enough supporters, we may enable members-only chat. This new subscription method is a great way to decentralize our direct listener support away from just Patreon and also support a libertarian-run business, Odyssey. Please visit video.freetalklive.com and click join to subscribe to our Odyssey channel and help support spreading our message around the planet. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click join today.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, Donald Trump officially became the Republican Party nominee following the party's 4-day convention in Milwaukee. It came less than a week since his attempted assassination, something he spoke about during his acceptance speech. FSN's US correspondent Simon Marks was watching from the convention site in Milwaukee and sent this report.
He started with a very emotive, somewhat subdued description of the attempted assassination that he survived last weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania. I shouldn't be here, he told the convention delegates, and said that he had been saved by the hand of God. After that emotional part of the speech, in which Donald Trump called for unity and healing throughout the country, he then returned to themes that you more often hear in his standard stump speech, and for a considerable part of his 2-hour address was talking about the need to crack down on what he repeatedly referred to as an invasion of illegal immigrants into the United States. He vowed to finish building the wall with Mexico that he started to build during his first term in office, and insisted that he will seal the border between the two countries, although there was no detail provided about exactly how he is going to do that.
Meanwhile, details continue to emerge throughout the week about the attempted assassination. The US Secret Service was reportedly told about a suspicious man using a rangefinder 20 minutes before the gunman opened fire at Donald Trump at the rally in Pennsylvania. FSN's Sally Patterson was monitoring developments.
In a briefing by law enforcement, members of Congress were given a timeline of the moments leading up to Saturday's assassination attempt, which left Donald Trump with an injury to his ear, but alive. Lawmakers were told local police had initially spotted the gunman about an hour before the shooting, but then they lost track of him. There are questions about why the suspect, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, wasn't stopped sooner.
US President Joe Biden's political future remained in serious doubt throughout the week, with more speculation swirling and more Democratic lawmakers saying it was time for him to drop his re-election bid. As of Friday, his campaign was insisting there were no plans for him to give up on his candidacy. FSN's Benji Hire reports.
Joe Biden's offering a temperate defiance whilst holed up at home with COVID-19. Yet since, he's lost the support of major Hollywood donors, Democratic Party heavyweights, 24 lawmakers, and 2/3 of his own voting base. Biden's campaign maintains he's more determined than ever to beat his predecessor Donald Trump in November's election. Benji Hire, Washington.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
control. 603-283-6160 is the phone number here to get in on the conversation with us this last segment of the show. 603-283-6160. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny Liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. And with you on the show tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Lori.
And Peakless Mountaineer.
And I'm just going to go straight to the phones. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
You know, there is a true God. It's called evolution. And Jesus was meant to be the perfect evolutionary being selected for through the natural selection process.
What?
And this process is where morality is derived from.
Sounds
right?
kind
You
of
don't need to
racist.
read this. No, it goes beyond humanity, right? It's only selecting for a being that can solve every existential problem. This is why value is not subjective. This is where morality comes from. It's through the natural selection process. It selects for moralities. And why do you think evolution gave us money and capitalism? Why do you think we're going through this endless chain of production?
Because
Do you
we
think
figured out a
evolution
way
selects-
to interact with each other beyond our tribe number.
Only for one purpose. Do you think evolution selects for a society that maximizes production, or do you think it selects for a society that minimizes aggression?
They are
Let
the
me
same.
ask you, Peakless,
I've
they are
brought
not.
this up, but you've never actually looked at it. So when you spend resources on
God.
security, those are resources that you cannot spend on expanding production.
So what?
So
That
if you
doesn't
have a
prove anything.
maximally peaceful society, then you have the minimum required expenditure on security.
No, it doesn't. Again, it's you who's not applying. It's you not analyzing correctly, right? You don't protect something based upon first come first serve like homesteading. You distribute capital based upon who best uses it. So if someone homesteaded and they foolishly don't want to transfer it, it's right to aggress against them. And
No.
transfer it.
So you have a point though. You do actually want the resources in the hands that will be most productive, but that happens through protection of property. See, when you protect the property of the original,
I can disprove.
Oh my God! Just let
Thank you.
Peakless Mountaineer make a point. You made a point. Now he let you do that, and now he's replying to you.
like, he's right that is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is not to just protect the property of the original homesteader. The goal of evolution is, in fact, to put that property in the hands where it will do the most good. And there is an appearance of utilitarianism in the effect. Now, the thing that he's missing is that the protection of property rights is the most efficient way of getting property into the hands of those who will be most productive. So when you have settled a land, or when you have a factory or any kind of resource, the person or people who will most be able to produce with that resource will be able to bid the highest amount in exchange for it. I mean, if I can use that factory to make twice as much as you can because I have a really good way of assigning the resources, then I can bid more than you can for that factory.
Yeah, but Skeeter thinks that you can just take the money that you would bid for and go buy some bombs and then blow you up and take your farm.
And that is the way of destroying resources rather than putting them in the right hands.
No, that's a fallacy. First, let me just show you the fallacy with just a simple hypothetical. The trolley car scenario. The trolley car scenario. You can't deal with that. Would you
absolutely
kill a person
can.
to save the rest? Would you kill one person to save the world? Which maximizes production? When you aggress and kill that person, or when you don't aggress and you let the rest of the world die for the sake of one
So the
person?
real solution is to find the person who's setting up these trolleys that murder people and stop them.
He's avoiding the hypothetical.
No, I'm not.
And look, and that I'll
Like,
give you the
you
general,
are
I'll
looking
give you
at the
general-
small picture.
I'll give you the. Hold on, I was muted. Now let me talk. I'll give you the general situation when you should aggress. Again, when someone homestead, that doesn't necessarily mean he's the best. He's the most productive with a piece of capital.
agree.
Right? There is a burden for him to transfer it in the market. There's a natural incentive with money. The most productive person will probably try to bid it will try to buy it from him.
Yes, but only if you can maintain a market.
But here's the difference here. If he doesn't want to transfer it, that's the problem. And what natural rights do is protect that right to be inefficient with a piece of capital. He can keep it just for sentimental value.
And when you allow any set of aggression,
to the rest of production to society.
When you allow any set of aggression, what it always does, without exception, is to protect the property that is in someone's bad hands. Every time you have a system of aggression, it creates monopoly because it is in self a monopoly on aggression.
No, this is not a monopoly. This is the market coming together with decentralized aggression planning. This is where anarcho-capitalists go wrong. Just because the government cannot aggress efficiently doesn't mean the market cannot aggress efficiently.
That's just the government in another word, like a smaller version of the government. People coming together to plan aggression.
No, yeah, that's a market function. That's a valid market function. As long as they do it with their own money, the incentives aren't perverted.
Anything you don't have the right to do is not valid.
What's that?
Anything you don't have the right to do is not valid because the word valid means that it's right, and anything that you don't have the right to do is wrong.
Yeah, and I get that you're arguing from outcomes instead of from principles, but even from outcomes, protecting property rights is the most efficient means of putting property in the most productive hands. And this is also a problem that you see every socialist make of like, oh, well, what about this one person who's not playing by the market? Checkmate. Well, so here's this thing called the rest of the world. And the rest of the world has other things in it, whether it's employers or factories or fields. The rest of the world does have participants who will actually trade for a higher bid.
Do you guys have any more interest in continuing this conversation with Skeeter?
Meh.
We have another caller on the line. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. And thank you for the call, Skeeter.
Great. I wanted to say on the joining up with the last conversation before the break, the thing that comes to mind is, you all had a bunch of great points, by the way. It's a great conversation. But what I would add to it is this. I know you've heard about the DNA and the fact that it's a code, and obviously an intelligent code, a fantastic machinery, and an intelligent code. And any code that we know of, I know you guys know this, but is every code that we know of, every language, every code is designed by an intelligence. And also, but what comes to mind as far as living life on this planet, it has to be something like, of course, a famous atheist, Ayn Rand, said, an end in itself, that the moral position and a respectable position and doing the right thing has to be an end in itself. And that's what Christians don't really appreciate so much, I think, perhaps. But moving on, I would say that this is something I've come to realize just lately that's hit me. I was listening to a program on PBS and the Science Friday, and the discussion was about deep in the earth, these nematodes and these microbes deep 2,000 feet down in the earth, and then in the depths of the ocean, and all the life on the planet is like in your face creation, creative.
Yeah, it's very strange that like there's nowhere that doesn't have life. Like
right,
we literally can't find anywhere that doesn't have life
on Earth.
On Earth, in space, like
mind.
If you go out into space, it's much more dispersed because there's very, very little out there. Like there's a lot of space between things, but you will find, for example, fungal spores out in space. Like if you go to the depths of the ocean, you will find life. If you dig so far down that there's no way that they could get there that we know of, you will still find less of them, but you'll still find these microbes.
Sometimes I really think that spiders and bugs can actually appear, because all PorcFest, they were just appearing in the tub when I didn't see them crawling out of the appear and disappear. I didn't see them crawling out of the the place where the water goes down. And the other day I was trying to carefully pick up a spider and it disappeared into thin air. I can't explain it. It didn't gut out anything. It wasn't in my hair. I was freaking out. I literally took all my clothes off because it just disappeared and it was a big spider. I really do think that.
Before I check out, I'd like to say so much hope and just so much positive message for Ian, and just in the conversation sometime back about what to do in prison, how to be effective and just kind of do your time in a good way. It was a great conversation, and with Ian, I'm hoping that he's able to read. And I was curious if he might be interested in writing a constitution for the free state of New Hampshire.
That would be really cool. I've always imagined that if New Hampshire became free, or maybe the government destroyed the internet and suddenly we had to restructure things, that Ian would be one of the people on the board coming up with helping restructure things.
Wouldn't it just be like the Share Society pledge?
Yeah.
Could you do me a big favor? Put me on hold so that I could continue listening on my phone?
Oh yeah, no problem. So one thing that we're working on, just like I want to say this on the show, one thing that's going to be going on soon is that the LRN feed will start to be playing the live feed when the show's live. And that will help a lot of people, unfortunately, haven't been able to listen recently because the listen lines are down. So like if LRN plays the live show when it's live and then replays it, obviously, like it normally does when it's not live, that would be a new solution for that.
So now they have to call and hang out on hold to listen.
Yeah, that's been happening for a while now, and I have no clue how to fix it, and obviously being in prison makes that hard.
Yeah, it's almost like we don't have our number one tech wizard anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2 is also just like got a lot on her plate too.
Yeah. She has a lot on her plate, and she can't do everything.
It's amazing that Free Talk Live is this still going on and functioning.
Yeah.
With all the attacks. Like
thanks to listeners like you.
Yes. Thank you to our amplifiers and to just people who listen and call in. I especially appreciate the people that call in because that's the point of Free Talk Live.
I mean, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to put yourself on the line that way. I mean, it's weird, but like you give away so much of yourself for allowing people to hear your voice. And just the little tone shifts and inflections and especially like the emotional charge that you put into the ideas that you're talking about.
Yeah, you hear a Skeeter starts squealing when somebody challenges his worldview.
I just picture him every time he calls, just red-faced the whole time.
Yeah. Well,
just so mad.
I wanted to say
and
something.
us wanting to be free.
Yeah, I know. How dare we?
How dare you waste my resources on your liberties?
Be good slaves.
But as far as what this last caller said about the DNA being a code, interesting thought. Never thought of that before. It's like, what code do we know of that is a code, but wasn't like created for that purpose?
Well, and I think that pointing out that it's linguistic in nature is an important thing too, because like you can't actively create a language. Like that's not a thing that they tried with Esperanto. They attempted to like design an effective language, and a fraction of anybody speaks it. It's not coherent. It's not effective because language, like organisms, has to evolve naturally. It has to unfold through its exploration and usage.
And DNA is so complex that we still don't know everything about it. Like it can hold so much on such a small amount. Like we don't have like a USB stick that has the capabilities of DNA to hold information, for example.
Yeah, if we took one of your cells and just we untwisted all of the DNA, it would literally reach beyond the heavens.
I don't even understand how that works. Like,
yeah, well, it's because it's so like, okay, like, think of a string, right? And then like you put it in your pocket.
Crumble it. Right.
Yeah, and it all gets crumbled into this tiny little ball, and you can have this little thing that like, oh, it's just this big. But then when you unkink it, it's this long, long thing.
So what you're saying is every cell in your body is kinky?
Yes. At its core.
And you're just walking
kinky
around with
to the
public with
core.
all those cells out.
So yeah, you've got
Perverse.
you've got these like 46
Shouldn't be allowed.
very, very tightly tied pieces of DNA that if you untied all of them would literally reach beyond the atmosphere from the Earth. And I think that is a big part of some of the layered symbolism in things like Jacob's ladder. And this idea of like a ladder that goes all the way to heaven. And that there are these beings that go up and down it, which you literally have in your DNA. There are these little molecule things that are going up and down your DNA, looking for where it's broken.
Wow.
Looking for like where it's the wrong thing and then fixing it.
So all of this stuff sent me a long time ago, like when I first started looking into what our genetic material is. Like it sent me down the rabbit hole of like, are we living in a simulation? Are we designed by a programmer? Like, are we all just not even here? Is this all? Are we literally like plugged into the Matrix?
Well,
Was that just a true story?
I think it's more complicated than that. I think it's so. My issue with
not that I believe it. Like maybe though, I don't believe anything, and I don't disbelieve anything.
Calling it a simulation means that there is something else that is being simulated, and I don't think that's how this works. I think that, like, for one thing, I think that there are simulations inside of this universe. I think that there's a fractal nature to all of reality. Now, it is a holographic projection. And I mean holographic in the sense that every piece of it contains the entire thing. And it's a very strange thing, but, like, if you look at any amount of space, and like the Planck length of every possible nanoparticle of it, the amount of information that you can encode in any amount of three-dimensional space is identical to the amount of information that you could encode on the surface of a sphere of equal size.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all projections all the way down.
Yeah.
But it's not a simulation because there's nothing being simulated, because that would be an endpoint, and there's no endpoint. It goes all the way up and it goes all the way down.
So I'm very conflicted on like, that's why I don't believe or disbelieve anything, because I have no way to know what the truth is. And I'm not going to assume that I'm so great and smart that I am the owner of absolute truth on something there's no way to know. But I lean towards that we're all connected energetically, and everything is just made up of energy and vibrations. And like, that's why it matters being a good person.
Yeah.
Because we are all one existence.
Well, and that humility right there is a problem that we have seen in the past in religions, where they're like, nope, if it's not what we think, then it must be demonic. Everything that is outside of this exact model is a twist of reality, and those are from the devil.
I just learned that in the 1500s, women got killed as being a witch because their hair turned color in the summer.
Yeah. Yeah, and everything outside of this model is evil. And now with science, it's almost the exact same problem, except instead of it being evil, it's just not real.
Right.
So if science didn't allow women to have their hair color change from the sun, then they would say, no, that is a trick of the light and it doesn't actually occur.
Yeah,
and they might come up with this
gaslighting us all, like,
yeah,
as if we didn't think, as if what we were seeing wasn't true, and that's what they do with like everything.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing, where like these ideological narratives have the same problems as religious narratives, but they tend to lack a lot of the solutions. Whereas like the actual point of science was that we could all do it. That I could experiment in my garage and find out what was true.
Yeah, the scientific method works for everyone.
Yeah.
The same way.
That was the beauty of it. And I didn't have to get a peerage to review it to know whether it was real or not.
Because you trust your own observation.
Right, exactly. And if you thought I was wrong, then you could test it.
Just go do it yourself.
Right, that was the idea. But it became, partly because we were just so used to this after, thousands of years of it, it became this priesthood that you had to be inducted and indoctrinated into. And you had to be recognized as a priest.
It's elitism. It's everyone can't do this. Only the select few at the top.
Yes, absolutely. And this was, it's part of why I was pushing back on the idea that Obama was a populist, is like, that's the no, we must have these special people, and the special people will make all of the decisions for all of us. And that has always been a bad idea.
Yeah. That's what the Nazis were all about.
Yeah, and whether it's capitalist elitism or fascist elitism or communist elitism or Christian elitism or any other kind, anything that is taking the power from the people and putting it into this select group, whatever group it is wrong and is evil and will ultimately kill more and more people until we either stop it or it kills everybody.
Unfortunately, most people, it seems like, want to suckle at the teat of the elite. Like, they just want someone to decide for them.
Yeah.
They want someone to tell them what to do and decide everything for them and protect them and then tell you what to do so that you stay in line too, so they're not in danger.
Yeah. Responsibility is scary. And that is the actual dichotomy of reality.
Why can't people just be like, I don't know everything? It's okay, though. Like, it's totally okay to not know everything.
Because they don't have the courage for that.
Well, buckle up.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I think a huge part is
Get a helmet.
Also,
that's right.
It's that a lot of them, probably the majority, is that they don't have the courage for that. And then like the smaller ones that are up closer to the top, I think they don't want to admit that they don't know everything.
Right.
Because they want you to believe that, so they have more control over you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
so it's
they
like both things.
Like, not only do they not want to lose their power, they also don't want to even admit to themselves how little they know about reality. Like, they have all of this extra special knowledge that no one else has. So how could they possibly not know enough about reality?
But even higher up,
But reality has too much to know.
Yeah.
Even higher up, I think that they do know a lot of things that like maybe the average person doesn't know about, and they don't want it to be true because basically they don't want right and wrong to be objective. They don't want it to be objectively wrong to hurt other people because they are egotists who want to be able to do whatever they want. They want to be gods in this world, and they hate the laws, the natural laws that exist objectively.
That's absolutely right.
Like, if you just are a good person for being a good person, it literally doesn't, none of it matters. Like, it doesn't matter what exists beyond this life. It doesn't matter. If you were just a good person, then it doesn't matter, because if there is a thing that's going to punish you.
What if I was a good person and I could have had a lot more fun by being evil?
Why would you have more fun being evil? Why is evil fun?
Because it's so easy.
I don't find it fun.
But it's so easy. You know, steal the candy, eat
And
the
you'll get
candy.
so tired of it after a while. I
Just
don't
like-
understand why people live their whole lives that way.
Just like be nice to each other, and then everyone shares the candy with each other because they want to be nice.
That is actually how reality works.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the only way you can have any fun being evil is elitism. Like if you get to put other people down doing it.
Yeah.
Because if everyone was completely actually equal and had the ability to become just as rich as you, and you're just like an evil, miserable person, then you're going to be not like on top of the world.
Yeah. Well, and that is the fundamental truth of reality that they must conceal from all people, is that they're not special. They're just a bunch of gangsters. They're not the government. You govern your own mind. Maybe you don't do it as well as you'd like, but you do it.
Mm-hmm.
They do not actually govern your thoughts unless you give it to them.
People need to start observing their thoughts.
Yeah.
And
Or
not
at
just
least
being-
bloody well leave those of us who will alone.
That's scary, though, observing your own thoughts. Then you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to, like, you know, look at your views and actually decide if they're wrong.
Is this me that's
Did
saying
someone
that?
just tell me this and so I just believe it? Or, like, do
Yeah.
I really believe this?
Yeah, if there's objective reality, you can actually be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of people don't want there to be any such thing as truth, and it's all relative. Like in your culture, that might be right, and in my culture, that might be wrong. They want that to be the case because then whatever they're doing, it can't possibly be wrong.
Exactly. So when they're out there seeking these hedonistic little sense pleasures, no matter who they screw over, well, it was okay in my culture for me to do that.
It's been Free Talk Live. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for the thought-provoking topics being brought up. And if you want to get more from Free Talk Live, you can go to freetalklive.com. Thanks so much for listening, and peace.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Tired of the ever-inflating US dollar? You can live your life on Dash instead with some handy websites. BitRefill.com has been accepting Dash for years and has a ton of big-name retailers and brands, including grocers, gas stations, phone refills, Amazon, and even prepaid MasterCards. Plus, many of their gift cards are available at a discount. But what about paying your bills? Spritz.finance can do that, and they can send dollars to your bank account in case you